Chapter 11:20. 2 rooms, next to each other. Soo-yoon went up and said to Big White Teeth straightforwardly. Black people were generally very friendly, so Soo-yoon also went up and said generously. The black man squinted his eyes and nodded. He frowned in confusion, but he quickly made an okay gesture. No problem, no problem. 2 rooms. Come with me. Obviously, in the eyes of this open-minded American, he couldn't understand why a man and a woman would want 2 rooms. However, this was definitely not a bad thing for his business. Opening an extra room meant earning more money. This was such a simple logic that even a kindergarten student who didn't know how to count understood. The lights on the stairs were very dim, and they could barely see the steps. The black man didn't have any intention of looking at Soo-yoon and Bai Xiaoye's identification. He took the money and brought them to the rooms upstairs. When they reached the 2nd floor, the black man directly pushed open the doors of the 2 adjacent rooms. These 2 rooms are okay, right? The bathroom has hot water 24 hours a day. You can wash it any time you want. No problem. Soo-yoon smiled. It was already good enough to have a place to stay. Moreover, he could shower. What else could he ask for? Although Bai Xiaoye was unwilling, reality was cruel. She couldn't afford to be picky, so she could only reluctantly stay. Soo-yoon entered the room and looked around. He was quite satisfied. Although the conditions weren't good, the bedding and other things looked quite clean. It was much better than the damp and smelly room he had imagined. This put Soo-yoon in a good mood. At least he could have a good night's sleep. Bai Xiaoye, who was in the room next door, immediately broke down. Before Soo-yoon could sit down, Bai Xiaoye rushed into his room. How can you stay here? What? Are there cockroaches or rats in your room? Soo-yoon was stunned. He pointed at the bed in his room and said, This is already not bad. It's quite clean. I'll just make do with it. How can I make do with it? There's no way I can make do with it. Bai Xiaoye's head shook like a rattle drum as she looked at Soo-yoon's door. Look, your room's lock is also broken. I can't even lock the door. I can't even sleep well, let alone take a bath. Soo-yoon sighed. How could it be so serious? Bai Xiaoye, you're a super expert. How could you sleep so soundly? She couldn't even feel it when she entered the room. However, he didn't say that out loud. How about this, if you want to take a bath, you can take a bath in my room. I'll guard the door for you. You can rest assured, right? It's already good enough that we have such a place to stay. Don't be so picky. When we return to Huaxia, I'll take you to my 5-star hotel and give you the best room to compensate you. Will that do? Bai Xiaoye shook her head helplessly. So what? She had already been brought here by Soo-yoon. She had to accept it even if she couldn't. Helpless, Bai Xiaoye could only choose to borrow the bathroom in Soo-yoon's room. However, what made her even more helpless was that even the bathroom's lock was broken and couldn't lock anyone. Soo-yoon, I'm warning you. If you dare to come in when I'm taking a bath, I'll definitely kill you. Bai Xiaoye glared at Soo-yoon fiercely. Soo-yoon lay down on the bed. I'm already very tired. Don't worry. Even if you give me 1,000,000 yuan, I won't have the energy to sneak in. I'm really not interested in you. You take a bath, and I'll guard the door for you. I'm already being very generous by not charging you a protection fee. Go to hell. Bai Xiaoye snorted. This is what you deserve. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have followed you to this godforsaken place to suffer. A girl will always be a girl. She can't stand the sweat on her body for even a day. Soo-yoon didn't mind not taking a bath for 2 days. At most, he would smell a little sweaty. This was the smell of a man. Maybe a bunch of ignorant girls would be charmed by it. The sound of running water could be heard in the bathroom. Soo-yoon closed the door and laid on the bed, preparing to sleep. He wanted to take advantage of the time to sleep. Once things got busy, even sleeping would become a luxury. A black shop was a black shop, just like Sun Eunyoung's bun shop in Water Margin. If she didn't kill 2 customers, where would she find human meat to make buns? Downstairs, A black man with big white teeth stood at the entrance of his black hotel with a smile. He held a cigarette in his hand and looked around as if he was waiting for someone. About 10 minutes later, the taxi that had sent Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye here appeared in his sight again. This time, 5 people got out of the car. The white driver was the first to walk up to him. "How is it? Have the 2 Asians settled down?" "They've settled down. They even asked for 2 rooms. Big White Teeth chuckled. "Green, the 2 fat lambs you met this time are really not bad, especially that girl. Wow, she's curvy and voluptuous. She's definitely not inferior to the top dancer of the strip club we like to go to the most." The white driver called Green sneered. "Can't you think of anything else other than women?" "Ha ha ha, of course, and money," Big White Teeth said proudly. Green stopped talking nonsense with him and gathered the 4 people behind him. "Brothers, these 2 Asians must have been smuggled over from Canada. They don't have passports or documents. When I brought them here, they said their documents were cheated. I said I could send them to their country's embassy, but the man refused. This is definitely not normal." Big White Teeth nodded. "Even if a swindler wants to cheat, it would be money. They don't dare to go to the embassy because they're afraid of being repatriated. Ha ha ha, if that's the case, no matter what we do to them, they won't dare to call the police. They committed the crime of illegal immigration." "That's right." Green nodded. "So, we can do whatever we want to them. All the money they have on them is ours. That woman is also ours. We can play with her however we want. Moreover, such a top-notch woman, if we use her to make money. Ha ha ha, not to mention $200 per time, even if we ask for $500 per time, there will definitely be an endless stream of people coming to our door to have a taste. Such a top-notch woman can at least make the Seattle perverts fresh for a whole year. And in this year's time, we can at least make millions with this woman. After a year, we'll be millionaires." Big White Teeth grinned from ear to ear. The only difference between them and the little punks on the streets of Huaxia who stopped at nothing was that they had guns. Most of the little punks in Huaxia didn't have guns. Even if they did, they didn't dare to take them out casually or shoot casually. Green ordered, "Let's go up and take them down now. Tonight, let us brothers have a taste of that woman first. Humph, humph, humph. As for that kid, let's just give him a quick death and find a place to bury him after we're done with him. It doesn't matter if the people with no identity are found. Even if the police find the bodies in the future, they won't investigate too seriously." This was true. Because they didn't have passports, identification, or proof, there was nothing to worry about even if they killed them. This rule definitely emboldened the 6 of them. In addition to Green and Big White Teeth, the other 4 people were also quite distinctive. There was a tattooed man without a shirt, a short man with a plump figure, a man with 17 or 18 earrings on his ears, and a bald white man with a shiny head. Chapter 11:21. In his sleepy state, Su Yun heard a series of messy footsteps. His 6th sense told him that this was not a good sign. Just as Su Yun got up and was about to ask Bai Xiaoye if she was done, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open. The boss of the hotel walked in with a provocative smile on his face. He smiled at Su Yun. "Friend, are you used to living here? The conditions aren't very good. Sorry for the inconvenience. Ha ha ha." Su Yun sensed that he did not come with good intentions. He frowned slightly. "What can I do for you, boss?" The sound of running water in the bathroom suddenly stopped. The black taxi driver, Green, walked out from behind Big White Teeth with a sly smile. "2 rooms? What a waste. Since you're already bathing together, why are you still pretending to be innocent? Ha ha ha, is that the pretty girl inside?" A shady shop was indeed a shady shop. They were in cahoots with each other. The driver was in cahoots with them from the very beginning. Su Yun gave them a thumbs up in admiration. "Good, you guys are really good. Ha ha ha, the girl must be very lonely bathing alone. Let me help her scrub her back." Big White Teeth's mind was filled with Bai Xiaoye's body. His mouth was wide open from ear to ear as he excitedly rushed to the bathroom. Su Yun raised his leg, and the slipper next to the bed flew out and landed heavily on Big White Teeth's face. "Don't touch that door. Don't blame me for not reminding you." Su Yun did not look like he was joking at all. Big White Teeth's face was hit by the slipper, and he exploded in anger. This was his hotel. How could he allow a foreigner who illegally entered the country to act so presumptuously? "Humph, it seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know that this is America." In his anger, Big White Teeth took out a gun from behind his waist. Even if he killed a person without an identity in front of him, the country would not convict him. He only needed to say that this person without an identity trespassed on private property, and he had the right to shoot. Seeing that Big White Teeth took out his gun, Su Yun did not stay idle. He directly threw the TV remote control. Just as Big White Teeth opened fire, the remote control hit his wrist. Big White Teeth raised his hand, and with a bang, the bullet shattered the simple chandelier on the ceiling. The glass shattered all over the floor. Bai Xiaoye, who was still in the bathroom, felt her head buzzing. She quickly took a towel and wrapped it around herself. Just as Bai Xiaoye wrapped the towel around herself, Green pushed open the bathroom door. He wanted to capture Bai Xiaoye as a hostage. He believed that this way, Su Yun would not dare to act recklessly and would be at their mercy. When Su Yun saw Green open the door, he didn't have the time to stop him. Because other than Big White Teeth, the other 4 people also had guns in their hands. Handgun, single-barreled shotgun. They didn't care about anything else. They aimed directly at Su Yun and fired. Su Yun had no choice but to lean over the bed and use both hands to flip the entire bed over. The bullets hit the bed mercilessly. It was not reliable to expect a bed to block bullets. This was not a movie. It was all thanks to the thick mattress that it was able to block the bullets. The bullets rotated when they were shot, so the penetrating power was strong. The thick sponge in the mattress became the best defensive shield to reduce the speed of the bullets. Su Yun hid behind the thick mattress and endured the crazy gunfire. Bai Xiaoye had just wrapped herself in a towel when she saw the taxi driver at the door. She immediately realized that something must have happened. Stupid Su Yun. A shady hotel is a shady hotel. How can you stay in a shady hotel? Aren't you asking for trouble? She knew that something might have happened, but she didn't expect it to happen so quickly. Bai Xiaoye's anger was not to be trifled with. She couldn't even rest after taking a bath. The taxi driver didn't even have time to admire the good figure under the towel before his vision turned black. He was kicked in the head by Bai Xiaoye, and he fainted. Bai Xiaoye's appearance directly disrupted the battle. Big White Teeth and the others never expected that the seemingly weak girl was actually a tough woman. She crippled Green with a single kick. Just as they were hesitating, Su Yun suddenly appeared in front of them. Before Big White Teeth could react, Su Yun quickly took care of the other 4 people. The 4 of them didn't even have the chance to realize what had happened before they fainted. In the end, Su Yun grabbed Big White Teeth's neck and nailed him to the wall. The gun in his hand was also knocked to the ground by Su Yun. "Grandson, you've got guts." Su Yun smiled as he slowly lifted Big White Teeth up. Big White Teeth could definitely be considered as a tanned and fat man. He was at least 200 pounds. However, in Su Yun's hands, he was like a little chick. This time, Big White Teeth panicked. He couldn't breathe. The feeling of suffocation was definitely uncomfortable. Big White Teeth hugged Su Yun's wrist with both hands and tried to break free, but it was useless. "Are you running a black shop? Are you bullying us because we're illegal immigrants and don't dare to call the police? How many people like this have you blackmailed?" Su Yun spat. "Let me tell you, those who came here illegally must have their difficulties. You're hitting them when they're down. Do you understand?" Bai Xiaoye quickly returned to the bathroom and put on her clothes. She walked out and said to Su Yun, "Why are you talking nonsense with him? Such a loud gunshot will definitely alarm the police. If you don't want to explain to the police, then hurry up and take me away from here." Su Yun really wanted to teach this black guy a lesson, but Bai Xiaoye was right. It would be troublesome if the police came. His identity was too special. He was probably already in the American Intelligence Agency's files. Don't let me see you again in the future. After Su Yun finished speaking, he grabbed Big White Teeth and slammed him into the wall. The back of Big White Teeth's head hit the wall with a bang, and he fainted immediately. Anyway, these guys weren't good people. The police would teach them a lesson when they came. Su Yun didn't hesitate and quickly followed by Xiaoye out of the black shop. Sigh, I originally wanted to have a good sleep and have a good dream, but it became a luxurious fantasy again. Sure enough, after they ran a few hundred meters out of the black shop, they heard the police sirens. They rushed to the scene of the incident. The sound of gunshots in the middle of the night was too eye-catching. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye sped up. After running a few streets, they could finally catch their breath. The American people were really friendly. They had only been in the United States for less than 2 hours, and they were already giving them a show of strength. It was late at night, and there was no one on the road. The two of them sat on the side of the road. It seemed like they would really have to sleep on the streets tonight. The jet lag gave Bai Xiaoye a headache. She really wanted to tear Su Yun apart. It's all this guy's fault. Do you know what I want to do the most right now? Bai Xiaoye said angrily. I really want to split you in half. Just as the two of them were feeling helpless, a car's headlights shone over. A private car slowly stopped beside them. However, this time, Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye weren't as excited as before. Who knew if this was another small group of scammers? The car window rolled down, and a woman waved at the two of them. She asked tentatively in Chinese, Are you Huaxia people? F*CK, we actually met Chinese people. Su Yun jumped up excitedly. Big sister, we are Huaxia people. It's not easy for us now. Can you help us and take us in for one night? We really have nowhere to go. We just met a bad guy and lost all our documents. Big sister, look at my eyes. I don't look like a bad guy at all. The woman in the car smiled. We are all Huaxia people. It's normal for us to help each other when we are outside. Get in the car. Chapter 11:22. The kind and beautiful woman who was driving was called Shi. She was 3 years older than Su Yun. She drove Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye all the way to her house. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye were so touched that they called her Big Sister Cici. If it weren't for Shi, Su Yun would have to let Bai Xiaoye down and let her stay by the side of the road for the night. You two can stay at my place today. Anyway, I'm the only one in such a big house. It's quite boring, Shi said. Her house was indeed big enough. It had 2 floors and 8 bedrooms. I don't need to say it. As for how you came here, I won't ask. I just want to help you since you're all from Huaxia. Su Yun and Yi Xiaobai stared blankly for a moment. Indeed, no one was an idiot. Everyone could see the situation clearly. After all, this town was close to the American-Canadian border. Every year, there would be an uncountable number of illegal immigrants. But I can only let you stay for one night. I don't want to cause trouble for myself, Shi said as she subconsciously touched her belly. Bai Xiaoye widened her eyes in surprise. Big Sister Cici, could it be that you're pregnant? Shi nodded happily, but more or less sighed helplessly. Big Sister Cici, you're already pregnant. Why are you driving out so late? Where's my brother-in-law? Su Yun's words were so intimate that Bai Xiaoye almost spat out the word, brother-in-law. Shi was also amused by Su Yun's words. He's in Huaxia and can't come. He has a family, a wife, and a child. In everyone's eyes, I'm just his woman outside. Therefore, the child can't be born in the country. But I really don't want to take this innocent little life. Haha. But I love him. I love him and my child. Shi smiled bitterly and looked up at Bai Xiaoye. Do you think that I'm just a mistress, a slut? How can I have the face to say such things here? Bai Xiaoye was speechless and could only shake her head repeatedly. Su Yun was quite surprised, because this woman didn't have the spirit of a mistress. Whether it was her face or her various actions, Shirsi was definitely a kind woman. But how could such a woman do something that would destroy someone else's family? That grandson must have lied to you, right? Su-yun said coldly. The brother-in-law that he had been referring to just a second ago had suddenly become grandson. Shirsi looked at Su-yun in surprise, but she didn't say anything. Su-yun naturally understood this logic. Sister Cece, tell me what that bastard's name is, where he is, and what he does. I'll return to Huaxia once I'm done with my business in America. When I return, I'll definitely help you teach that bastard a lesson. No, don't. Shirsi shook her head repeatedly. After a pause, Shirsi looked at Su-yun and Bai Xiaoye in disbelief. You won't look down on me because I'm just a mistress? Sister Shirsi, don't talk about yourself like that. Bai Xiaoye had a good impression of this kind sister who had saved her in the middle of the night. Those women who know that someone has a family but still want to destroy it are the bad ones. You're so kind. I also believe that you must have been deceived. If you knew that he had a family, you definitely wouldn't have done something like that. Shirsi smiled bitterly and shook her head. It doesn't matter if I knew or not, I still did something like that. And, even if I knew now, I feel like I can't leave him. As she spoke, tears actually fell from Shirsi's eyes. I can't leave him. I can't not want this child. Shirsi's heart ached. Su-yun knew that as a man, it wasn't appropriate for him to say anything in this situation, so he let Bai Xiaoye follow Shirsi to her room to comfort her. There were indeed a considerable number of girls who had become the playthings of married men because of their naivety. Although there were still many good people in the world, there were also scumbags everywhere. Not everyone could be educated well after birth. One had to understand that one had to be wary of others and not have the heart to harm others. There were too many people who weren't educated well when they were young and became scourges of society when they grew up. Bai Xiaoye directly accompanied Shirsi in her room at night. When Shirsi fell asleep, she also fell asleep. Now, she especially sympathized with Shirsi. She understood that Shirsi truly loved that man. Her family had a family business and was much wealthier than that man. Ever since she got pregnant, her family felt that she had embarrassed the Shi family and chased her out. That man, on the other hand, had disappeared. Shirsi had no choice but to fly thousands of miles to the United States to give birth. This was all caused by watching Beijing meets Seattle. However, she didn't have to be so pitiful and didn't need to share a house with others. The money in her card was enough for her to buy a house in this city and wait for her child to be born without any worries. She still naively thought that once the child was born, everything would be fine. This little life would bring her luck and change everything. What could Bai Xiaoye say? She couldn't possibly say that it was wishful thinking on her part. She couldn't tell her that even if the child was born, it would be a burden and wouldn't change anything. If she said that, Shirsi wouldn't be able to take it and would get into trouble. Bai Xiaoye couldn't bear to say such realistic words to such a kind-hearted sister. However, Bai Xiaoye still believed that everything in the world had a karmic cycle. If you worked hard, you would definitely gain something. If you were kind, you would definitely be rewarded. Of course, some people didn't think so. They said that there was nothing definite in the world. However, you had to admit that if you didn't work hard, you would definitely gain nothing and live your life like a walking corpse. If you did evil, you might be glorious for a while, but in the end, you would definitely be despised by everyone. Sometimes, it wasn't that retribution didn't come, but that it wasn't time yet. No matter what, Su-yun and Bai Xiaoye finally had a place to stay for the night. They could sleep for a while and recover from the jet lag, allowing their mental and physical strength to catch a breather. Once there was news about Matthew, Su-yun had to deal with it immediately. For some reason, Su-yun slept very soundly that night. Perhaps it was because Sister Shirsi looked too kind. What made Su-yun even more touched was that when he and Bai Xiaoye woke up, Shirsi had already made fried eggs, toast, and warm milk for them. This feeling was as warm as it could get. It caused Su-yun to have an illusion that Ruan Qingshuang was just so gentle and attentive. Seeing the hot breakfast, Su-yun missed them. He really hoped that he could help Gu Chia save her father and rush back to Qingdao. That way, he could drink the bird's nest porridge that RuanQingshuang personally cooked for him before going to bed at night. If a man didn't have a gentle and attentive woman by his side, his life would be very boring. No wonder since ancient times, men had to marry. In the old society, rich men could still marry more concubines. It must be because the newer the concubine, the gentler and more attentive she was. TSK. After breakfast, Shirsi asked them to leave. It's not that I don't want you to stay, but I don't want to get into trouble and implicate the child in my stomach. Sister Cici, thank you. Bai Xiaoye went forward and carefully hugged Shirsi. Chapter 11:23. Although the encounter last night was still quite embarrassing, Su Yun received good news as soon as he left Sister Shirsi's house. Celine called and said that they had helped him find Gu Chia. She was looking for help from her old connections in Vancouver, hoping to find someone to help her solve the matter of her father's abduction. Of course, it was impossible for her to find someone who could help her in this kind of matter. It was not that those old connections in the circle were not loyal or disloyal, but that they really did not have the ability. Everyone knew very well that Gu Guolong's disappearance was caused by the CIA agents. Who could afford to provoke those CIA agents? Who dared to provoke them? Even Rhodes and Levine of the Dark Angels wanted to take a detour, let alone the circle that had been scattered. Now, all the Chinese in Vancouver knew that whoever had connections with the circle was likely to get into trouble. Ever since Gu Guolong's disappearance, the few elders of the circle who had made the biggest fuss about looking for Gu Guolong had all died unnatural deaths. They either died in car accidents or gas explosions in their homes. Although all of this seemed to be an accident, once these accidents were connected one after another, who would dare to say that it was an accident? If it was really an accident, these accidents were too coincidental. Why did they all happen to the people in charge of the circle? Now that the circle was leaderless, their lives would be in danger if they did not stay away. Humans were selfish animals, and no one wanted to die tragically for no reason. Gu Chia's appearance was good news for the circle that was in a state of disunity, but in this case, no one dared to stand up to help her. Helping her meant that they had one foot in the door of hell. If there was really a reward for dying, it would be a worthy death. However, everyone understood that even if they died, there would be no result. It would be a complete waste of time. Under such circumstances, no one would treat their own life as a joke. Even if he was a loyal person, even if he wasn't afraid of death, he should die in a meaningful way and not lose his life for nothing. Gu Chia could not find anyone to help her. Celine told Su Yun to rest assured that she had arranged for the Dark Angels to protect her in secret. If she did not do anything out of line, the Dark Angels would always arrange for people to protect her in secret. After all, the relationship between the Dark Angels and the Big Circle was somewhat sensitive. However, if Gu Chia wanted to do anything dangerous, Celine had promised Su Yun that she would stop her immediately. Even if she had to kidnap Gu Chia back to her house, she would definitely do it. He would absolutely guarantee that nothing would happen to Gu Chia, let alone let her take a single step out of Vancouver alone. He would let Su Yun do his own thing in peace. With Celine's words, Su Yun was truly relieved. As long as Gu Chia had the protection of the Dark Angel in Vancouver, she would not be in great danger. If she did not show up in the United States, the Americans would not know that she had returned. The Japanese must have received orders from the Americans to attack Gu Chia's ship at sea. Although Gu Chia had been rescued by Su Yun from the Japanese, the ship had sunk. And Pei would not be stupid enough to tell the Americans the truth. He would definitely tell the Americans that the ship had sunk, and Gu Chia had died. This kind of thing could not be verified at sea. Moreover, the Americans were certain that the ship had sunk. Gu Chia, please don't do anything out of line and cause trouble for me. Su Yun only had this little wish now. After thanking Celine and hanging up the phone, Su Yun was in a good mood. At least he had solved a big problem. Where should we go next? Ever since Bai Xiaoye came out with Su Yun, she did not even dare to turn on her phone. She was afraid that her master would call and scold her. She had been busy yesterday, so she did not have time to think about these things. Now that she suddenly had some free time, Bai Xiaoye started to be afraid of what she had done. Bai Xiaoye shuddered from the bottom of her heart at the thought of her master's rage. I don't know. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. Let's wait for the news. At least find a place to stay. Bai Xiaoye sighed. If we wait like this, we will have to sleep on the streets again at night. Su Yun pondered. Why don't we go to Los Angeles to watch a basketball game? The NBA is still in the off-season. The stars are all on summer vacation. Who do you want to watch? Street basketball? Bai Xiaoye rolled her eyes at Su Yun. Hurry up and think of a reliable idea. Aren't you making things difficult for me? Su Yun had a headache. Where should I go? Should I go to New York to participate in a talent show? Get a gold award for singing Little Apple? Just then, Su Yun's phone rang again. He thought it was Celine calling to ask if they needed help. However, when he looked at the caller ID, it was Wan Guangxiao. Aya, this international roaming is so expensive that it hurts my heart. Chief, what can I do for you? Su Yun picked up the phone and asked, if it's a meeting, I really can't go. I'm too far away. I can't make it. I know you're far away. Where did you go? Wan Guangxiao asked seriously. Su Yun pouted. I crossed the Pacific Ocean. Wan Guangxiao's voice was obviously somewhat helpless. I say, you. Why are you so unreliable? Why did you run so far away? How can I be fine? Su Yun felt wronged. If he was really fine, why would he fly across the Pacific Ocean like an idiot? Now, he couldn't even stay in a hotel. Wasn't he looking for trouble? Okay, you don't have to explain anything to me. I just want to ask you something. Did you go alone? Wan Guangxiao asked. Su Yun was stunned for a moment. Chief, does it matter if I answer this question or not? It was because he was afraid that Wan Guangxiao would question him that Su Yun didn't dare to bring out the people from the Dragon's Fury Special Forces. Of course it matters. Wan Guangxiao sounded even more serious. Chief, I swear, I really didn't bring any of my brothers out. Su Yun, did those bastards sneak out? Wan Guangxiao's voice was filled with helplessness. Those bastards are much more obedient than a wolf cub like you. Don't play dumb. I want to ask you if there's someone beside you. You know what I mean. Chief, you're asking the obvious. Su Yun laughed. I did come out with a friend, but you don't know her. It has nothing to do with you, right? How can it have nothing to do with you? Did you kidnap Bai Xiaoye? Wan Guangxiao's words really confused Su Yun. What the F***? How did the head captain know that there was another Bai Xiaoye? Was she, Bai Xiaoye, that famous? Chief, are you a satellite eye? Su Yun said weakly. How did you know? Do you know Bai Xiaoye? Wait, let me ask her. Su Yun turned to look at Bai Xiaoye. Do you know our boss? Wan Guangxiao, the one who likes to keep a straight face. How can I know someone from your team? You must be joking. Bai Xiaoye was also very puzzled. How could the chief know her? Did your chief guess her name randomly? That's right. That's right. If he could guess it so accurately, he wasn't human, but a god. Wan Guangxiao was completely helpless. He heard Bai Xiaoye's voice and said helplessly, Su Yun, pass the phone to Xiaoye. Her master is with me. F***. Chapter 11:24. Even before Bai Xiaoye heard her master's voice, her calves were already trembling. As expected of Zhuo Lengyue, Su Yun sighed in his heart. Even their chief, Wan Guangxiao, seemed to give her face. Once a person reached a certain level, they would have enough face. Su Yun. Zhuo Lengyue's voice suddenly came from the phone, startling Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye. For Bai Xiaoye, this was a real breakdown. She wanted to cry but had no tears. Elder sister you are really not simple. Su Yun smiled guiltily. However, these words were from the bottom of his heart. Zhuolangyue was really not simple. How could she be so sure that Bai Xiaoye followed him out? How could she be so valiant as to directly find him at Wan Guangxiao's place? You are not simple either, Zhuolangyue said angrily. From her voice, Su Yun could hear a kind of entanglement and difficulty. This feeling of struggle made Zhuolangyue want to vent her anger at Su Yun, but she couldn't. Su Yun smiled awkwardly. He really didn't want to kidnap Bai Xiaoye. She really sneaked into the car and insisted on following him. However, in this situation, if he were to tell the truth, it would be too impolite. It would be equivalent to betraying Bai Xiaoye. Bai Xiaoye was definitely more afraid of her master's scolding than him. If Zhuolangyue knew that Bai Xiaoye was the one who shamelessly followed Su Yun out, then Bai Xiaoye's ending would be even more tragic. Even if Su Yun didn't say anything now, Bai Xiaoye was already looking at Su Yun with pleading eyes. She really hoped that Su Yun would say a few good words for her, but she also understood that even if Su Yun said a few good words for her, her master would still be angry. Elder sister Yu, please don't blame Xiaoye for this. Su Yun suddenly apologized to Zhuolangyue on the other side of the phone. It's all my fault, please forgive me. But I promise that I'll bring Bai Xiaoye back safe and sound. Please rest assured. How can I not worry? You're a man and a woman alone together, and you're both at the age of puberty. I've been there, I know that kind of uncontrollable emotion. Zhuolangyue sternly said, Su Yun, tell me the truth, did you touch Xiao Yi or not? F***ck. Su Yun's mind went blank. What was the first awakening of love? He had been awakening of love for many years. 10 years ago, he knew that he would feel happy when he was with Yu Meiren. That was the first awakening of love. Now, he had even rolled in the sheets. What was the first awakening of love? However, Bai Xiaoye might really be a beginner. Otherwise, why would her master be so worried that she would be at a disadvantage against Su Yun? TSK, was there a need for that? Su Yun thought, I'm not a villain who won't stop at nothing. I'm handsome, elegant, and charming. It's not a big deal for a girl who has just awakened of love to have some endless admiration for me. Even if Bai Xiaoye couldn't restrain herself, Su Yun was an experienced man. He would definitely be able to restrain himself. Moreover, Bai Xiaoye had been trained by Zhuolangyue to be so chaste. Even if Su Yun wanted to destroy her, Bai Xiaoye wouldn't easily fall into his trap. Not to mention that Su Yun was out on a business trip. He didn't have the time or mood to flirt with girls. Elder sister Yu, you don't trust me. Do I look like that kind of person? Su Yun shook his head helplessly. Like father, like son. Zhuolangyue threw this sentence at Su Yun, and he didn't know how to reply for a long time. Bai Xiaoye nervously listened to their conversation. She was really afraid that Su Yun and her master would start arguing over the phone. What should she do then? Who should she side with? After being stunned for a while, Su Yun slowly opened his mouth. Elder sister Yu, there's no need for that. You're attacking my old man. Heh, but it's fine. You can say whatever you want. Anyway, I've never seen him before. You can scold him as much as you want. However, I feel that I'm much better than my unreliable old man. At least I didn't leave a seed in the world. I just ran away and didn't even care about it. That old man is too **king irresponsible. Ha ha ha. Even Bai Xiaoye could hear that Su Yun's laughter was especially awkward. No matter what, that was his old man. Even if he was irresponsible and hadn't even seen him before, he couldn't say that. It was somewhat disgraceful. However, thinking about it carefully, how lucky could Bai Xiaoye be? Wasn't she also a child who hadn't seen her parents since she was young? On the other end of the phone, Zhuolangyue was silent for a long time. Finally, she slowly said, Su Yun, pass the phone to Xiaoye. I have something to say to her. Okay. Su Yun nodded and passed the phone to Bai Xiaoye. Your master wants to talk to you alone. Bai Xiaoye's face changed when she heard this. She hurriedly pointed at her mouth at Su Yun and then shook her head vigorously. She didn't dare to take the phone. She was already scared to death when she leaned in to listen to the conversation. How could she dare to talk to her master now? Su Yun directly turned on the speaker and stuffed the phone into Bai Xiaoye's hand. Since it had already happened, running away wouldn't solve the problem. If he wanted to solve the problem, he had to face it. It was just a small matter. He could just explain it clearly. Bai Xiaoye pulled a long face and had no choice but to say weakly, "Master, I'm sorry." Zhuo Lengyue was obviously silent for a while before she choked with sobs. "Xiaoye, I'm sorry. Damn." The Empress can even speak with a sobbing tone. Su Yun's eyes widened. He definitely wouldn't dare to believe this even if he was beaten to death. Even Bai Xiaoye was dumbfounded. She had been by her master's side for so many years, but she had never seen her master like this. Wan Guangxiao's helpless persuasion could be faintly heard over the phone. "Don't cry, Lengyue. Control your emotions. Some things should have passed long ago. Why don't you say those things that you've been suppressing in your heart? If this goes on, you will only make it harder for yourself to face Xiaoye. What's wrong with master?" Bai Xiaoye's face was filled with doubts and uneasiness. This inexplicable uneasiness made her heart beat faster and faster. What exactly is Zhuo Lengyue hiding in her heart? Even Su Yun couldn't help but be curious. The Empress actually has thoughts that she can't tell her disciple? "Master, Xiaoye knows she was wrong. Please forgive me." Bai Xiaoye said with a sobbing tone, "In the future, I will never disobey your orders or do such things again. Please give me a chance." Zhuo Lengyue seemed to have finally controlled her emotions. She slowly said, "Xiaoye, you didn't do anything wrong. I was the one at fault. I didn't make some things clear. Master, I know you're doing this for my own good. I really came out this time to help Su Yun. We're friends, and he needs my help. I really can't leave him in the lurch." Bai Xiaoye said, "Master, please forgive me. If you don't want me to stay here to help him, I'll listen to you and go back now." Zhuo Lengyue said, "I'm not saying that I don't want you to help Su Yun. I'm very gratified that you can help him, but Master is worried that you will fall in love with him." Chapter 11:25. Bai Xiaoye was startled. "Why? Promise Master that you won't fall in love with Su Yun," Zhuo Lengyue insisted. "I promise, Master. I'll agree to anything you say." Su Yun couldn't understand Bai Xiaoye's obedience. After all, Su Yun was a man. At this time, he felt embarrassed. "Sister Yu, don't worry. I, Su Yun, am not that kind of person. Even if you don't like me, you don't have to say that in front of our chief. Xiaoye is a good girl. I treat her like a little sister. I swear, I'm not as dangerous as you think. I won't touch her at all. If anyone dares to have any ideas about her, I'll look after her for you. If Bai Xiaoye loses a single strand of hair, I won't say a word even if you skin me alive." "Little brat, what do you know? Don't interrupt when an adult is lecturing." Wan Guangxiao's words faintly came from the phone. Obviously, it wasn't difficult for him to hear the voice on the other side of the phone. After being scolded by the chief, Su Yun became more well-behaved. Forget it. Let the master and disciple be sentimental. He might as well go find a place to buy 2 cups of coffee to refresh himself. "Su Yun, I'm very pleased that you can say that." Zhuo Lengyue suddenly said, "You must treat Xiaoye as a little sister because she really is your little sister." What the hell? Bai Xiaoye's mind buzzed, and it instantly went blank. Su Yun was also shocked speechless by these words. What was the meaning of this? What's going on? Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye's eyes met. They couldn't help but admit that the other person's expression was so familiar. For a moment, they felt as if they were looking into a mirror. Although there were differences between men and women, there was a phrase called resemblance. The resemblance in resemblance was more intimate than the resemblance in appearance. No wonder Bai Xiaoye disguised herself as Su Yun to donate those national treasures. Even Su Yun was shocked at first sight and couldn't believe it. Appearance could be disguised, but it was unthinkable for one's expression to be so similar. Sister Yu, please don't joke around. Su Yun was the same as Bai Xiaoye. He couldn't believe it. If I have a little sister, how could I not know? Even if my father is a jerk, I believe that he won't separate us. Moreover, my mother died after I was born. It's impossible for me to have a little sister. Sister Yu, you're joking around. Although Su Yun said that Zhuo Langyue was joking with him, deep in his heart, he had already begun to believe this fact. That's right. I don't think I don't know. Zhuo Langyue knew that the two of them wouldn't be able to accept her words. She had never thought of saying it. However, she was worried. She was really worried that Bai Xiaoye, who was in love for the first time, would have that kind of relationship with Su Yun. She wouldn't be able to forgive herself for the rest of her life. Therefore, Zhuo Langyue decided to let them know the truth. Even if it was over the phone and she couldn't explain it clearly, she still had to let them know. Back then, your father gave you to Zhang Jianji because he wanted to be with me. I couldn't accept that I had to raise another woman's child in my most beautiful years. Zhuo Langyue was deeply hurt when she said this. On the other end of the phone, Wan Guangxiao was also silent. He seemed to know the truth of this matter. Su Yun's brows were knitted tighter and tighter. Su Yun, I'm sorry. Your father is also sorry, Zhuo Langyue said. Zhuo Langyue said, back then, he placed you in Zhang Jinji's place so that you could be with me. Zhuo Langyue, stop joking. Su Yun's voice became serious. He wasn't as respectful to Zhuo Langyue as before. Even if you're the empress, don't blame me for being impolite if you continue to talk nonsense. Zhuo Langyue laughed helplessly. I know you don't believe it. Even I don't want to believe it. But it's the truth. You may fight for your mother, but who will fight for me? Your father was originally a romantic and elegant man. His charm was something that no girl could resist. Master, what do you mean? Bai Xiaoye was already getting agitated. Xiaoye, I know what you want to say. That's right. You're the child of Su Yun's father and mine. Zhuo Langyue said, before you were born, he was already missing. Later, I found out that he went to a place where he would never be able to come out. Bai Xiaoye's mind was still blank. She felt muddle-headed, as if she was experiencing a nightmare. I don't want you to know the truth. I'm afraid you'll be hurt. Zhuo Langyue said, you were born during the day. That day, the Xiaoye red sandalwood in our house bloomed, so I named you Bai Xiaoye. I hope you'll forget everything and treat you as my adopted child. Are you afraid I'll be hurt, or are you afraid you'll be hurt? Bai Xiaoye suddenly screamed hysterically. No one could understand this kind of venting. She lived by her mother's side for more than 20 years, but she didn't know that this person was her mother. This kind of deception was completely unacceptable to Bai Xiaoye. If possible, Zhuo Langyue wanted to continue lying for the rest of her life. She knew very well that once she made the decision to lie, she could only continue to use lies to cover up the previous ones. Then, she would use new lies to cover up the new ones. If this cycle continued, she would never dare to speak the truth. She was forced to say all this now because she had no other choice. She really didn't dare to imagine how regretful she would be if her lie caused the brother and sister to develop feelings for each other and something between a man and a woman happened between them. Therefore, even though she knew that telling the truth would cause Bai Xiaoye to break down, she still had to say it. When they were young, there were many people in their circle who knew that Zhuo Langyue was pregnant with that person's child. Zhang Yizhi knew, Wan Guangxiao knew, Lin Jiyi's old man, Lu Xuanji, and the others all knew. However, this secret had always been suppressed by Zhuo Langyue. No one had ever mentioned to Su Yun that he had a half-sister from a different mother. Xiaoye, please tell me your master. No, your mother. When Zhuo Langyue suddenly said these two words, she realized that the word mother was much warmer than the word master. For her, it was so, let alone for a child. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. Bai Xiaoye got up and ran away. After all, she had never suffered such a big blow before. Su Yun picked up the phone and smiled calmly. It was impossible to say that he wasn't shocked. However, Su Yun's ability to adjust himself had long been tempered through so many years of life and death situations. Sister Yu. Oh no, I should call you little mother, right? Hee hee. I've lived for so long, but today's matter has given me a headache. Su Yun, I beg you. You must help me look after Xiaoye. Where are you? I'll go and find you now. Zhuo Langyue was a feared female empress in the underground world. Even Wan Guangxiao had to give face to her. Yet, she actually begged Su Yun in such a servile manner. This was simply a fantasy. Su Yun grinned. It's better if you don't come. You will only make things worse. Since I know that she's my sister, I will definitely take good care of her. You. Auntie, if my father is still alive and you can still contact him, you must remember to help me pass a message to him. Ask him to greet that old bastard. Tell him that when his son grows up, he will definitely not do such a thing. Chapter 11:26. After hanging up the phone, Zhuo Langyue felt as though her heart was being stabbed by a sharp knife. This woman, who was revered by everyone in the underground world, couldn't help but tear up. Even Wan Guangxiao didn't dare to believe that Zhuo Langyue would have such a reaction. Zhuo Langyue, I didn't expect you to be a sentimental person. Wan Guangxiao sighed in his heart. Back then, when Zhuo Langyue was pregnant with by Xiaoye, many people knew about it. Old topsy-turvy Wu Qiuzi, shadowless godly thief, Taisui Zhang Jiaji, and the other sworn brothers all knew about it. After Su Yun's father got into trouble, they naturally wanted to care about Zhuo Langyue. It wasn't because she was powerful enough to be called the Empress, but because of her relationship with Su Yun's father. Also, because of Su Yun's father's prestige, it was natural for his wife to be taken care of by his brothers in the underworld when she was pregnant. However, Zhuo Langyue rejected all good intentions. She gave birth to the child, but she didn't allow anyone to visit her. She directly disappeared from everyone's sight. After a few years, Zhuo Langyue reappeared in Hua Xia's underground world with a little disciple, by Xiaoye, whom she claimed to have adopted. However, people with discerning eyes could see that Zhuo Langyue was just deceiving herself. Everyone knew that Bai Xiaoye was her flesh and blood. Since she insisted on denying it, outsiders couldn't say anything. Moreover, her man probably wouldn't have the chance to come back. The only thing that everyone felt was a pity was that Su Yun and his half-sister, who shared the same father but had a different mother, might be separated forever. However, fate made fools of people. Although some people seemed to be on two parallel lines that would never intersect, they would still collide due to some unexpected events. Zhuo Langyue had always hoped to hide this truth forever, but she didn't expect that Bai Xiaoye would still meet Su Yun in Pan Garden. Perhaps this was the arrangement of fate. Some things could never be changed. Langyue. Wan Guangxiao wasn't the kind of person who knew how to comfort others. Don't worry. With Su Yun around, Xiaoye will be fine. How could he be fine? How unqualified am I to be a mother? Hee hee. Zhuo Langyue forced a smile. How much do I regret my decision at that time? How selfish I was. How impulsive I was to lie. I've kept it in my heart for more than 20 years. How much do I fear that the lie would be exposed one day? Letting out a sigh, Zhuo Langyue continued, but paper can't wrap fire. It's a lie, and it will be exposed sooner or later. Some lies are well-intentioned. Wan Guangxiao said indifferently, I understand why you did that at that time. You were worried that you wouldn't be able to face your daughter asking you where her father went in the future. Sigh, life is unpredictable. If something happens, there will be a way to get through it. Don't worry, I believe that his son is strong, and so is his daughter. Zhuo Langyue quickly put away her worried look and put on the frightening coldness on her face again. It's good to know that they are all right. Thanks. It's nothing. You don't have to be so courteous with me. We've been friends for so many years. Wan Guangxiao smiled. Zhuo Langyue looked at Wan Guangxiao and said, If you still treat me as an old friend, then do me a favor. Xiaoye has been working by my side since she was young. She doesn't have the experience of dealing with things alone. I'll leave their safety to you. Wan Guangxiao forced a smile. He also didn't know where that little brat Su Yun went. Don't worry, Su Yun is very experienced. He won't let his sister suffer. Su Yun chased after Bai Xiaoye for a long time before he finally caught up with her. Bai Xiaoye had nowhere to vent her anger, so she could only use this method. I know it's hard to accept, Su Yun said. I also find it hard to accept. My head is still buzzing. What's so hard to accept? My master told me that she's my mother. How can I accept it? Bai Xiaoye's emotions were very unstable. When I was young, I asked her why I don't have a mother. She said that my mother is dead. Why did she do this to me? Why? Why did she say that I don't have a mother when she's clearly my mother? Su Yun tried to calm her down. No matter what, at least she's always by your side. What she did was wrong and was a jerk, but she must have her difficulties. We can understand each other's problems. Don't push yourself too hard. This will only embarrass everyone. Bai Xiaoye shook her head. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I don't have a mother. I didn't have one when I was young, and I don't have one now. I'm just saying it out of anger. I'm just saying it. Su Yun said, actually, after the shock, I'm quite glad. I'm glad that I have a biological sister. You. Bai Xiaoye wasn't as magnanimous as Su Yun. She really couldn't accept this brother of hers for the time being. Su Yun smiled. If you want to talk about anger, I should be angrier, right? Our dad gave birth to me and threw me to a friend. Then, he went to enjoy his two-person world with your mom. He, I don't know where he went until now. I haven't even seen him once. He's not a thing. But I'm not angry, right? Perhaps only Su Yun himself knew the bitterness in his smile. Bai Xiaoye opened her mouth in shock. How magnanimous was he? If she were in Su Yun's shoes, wouldn't she break down even more now? That's right. It's not their fault. It's their fault for having an unreliable father. Some things are destined. We can't change them. Su Yun said, even if you suddenly learn an unchangeable truth one day and can't accept it, you have to learn how to accept it. Then you must learn to accept it, learn to endure it, and learn to adapt. Bai Xiaoye didn't say anything. She just lowered her head. These words sounded simple, but she couldn't accept them from the bottom of her heart. Time can wash everything away, Su Yun said. Everything will get better slowly. You're really my brother? Bai Xiaoye looked up at Su Yun. Humph, this guy who looks like a jerk is actually my brother. Thinking about it carefully, there's an inexplicable sense of closeness. When Bai Xiaoye first came into contact with Su Yun, she really hated him. However, as time passed, she found that Su Yun had an inexplicable sense of security and trust. This feeling was definitely not the kind of infatuation. Could this be the power of blood? Let's do a blood test? Su Yun raised a finger. Bai Xiaoye was amused. There's no scientific basis for this. How can you believe this? It's a little unreliable, but the blood test has always been a standard since the Three Kingdoms era. No one has ever doubted it. Su Yun said, since we're modern people, let's do a DNA test when we go back. Why? A paternity test? We're siblings. Are you mistaken? Bai Xiaoye really admired Su Yun. If we're going to do it, I'm going to do it with her. Su Yun obviously knew that the her Bai Xiaoye was talking about was Zhuo Langyue. Do you think she's joking with you? Did she use this lie because she's afraid that you and I... Bah! Aren't you ashamed? If it's true, I'm your sister. You have to watch your words in front of me. Bai Xiaoye said angrily. So what if I'm your sister? You're not a child anymore. You're already an adult. Forget it. Regardless of whether it's true or not, I've already acknowledged you as my sister. This is fate. Su Yun, what do you think? It's good to acknowledge you as my sister. Then, treat me to a drink. Bai Xiaoye really needed alcohol to numb herself. Su Yun glanced at the sun in the sky and the shadow under his feet. It's only 10 in the morning, so it's a little inappropriate to drink. Then, let's continue walking. If we see a bar that's open, I'll treat you to a drink. Chapter 11:27. Su Yun didn't expect that there would be bars that opened early in the morning just across the Pacific Ocean. He really didn't understand why Americans liked drinking so much. There were so many more bars than hotels on the roadside. Were there so few people who wanted to get a room? It was really incomprehensible. But thinking about it carefully, after all, the country was open-minded. Even the dormitories in the school were mixed. The time it took to get a room would be done in the dormitory. Also, Americans liked big cars. Pickup trucks were everywhere on the streets. It was convenient to shake a car. Perhaps it was because of this that the small hotel industry here was not very developed. The reason why the bars were so developed was much simpler. Even unemployed people could receive a minimum wage. The more idle and lazy a person was, the more they liked to drink and smoke. Of course, smoking was not smoking. It was smoking marijuana. Marijuana was relatively easy to get in American bars. Getting marijuana here was different from Huaxia. The people in Huaxia were very poor. They were basically struggling to survive. Those who had a house to live in, a car to drive, and 2 savings were considered well-off families. How could they have the spare money to smoke marijuana? Those who could afford to smoke marijuana had to have at least $2, right? At the very least, it was easy to get money like gangsters, or those in the entertainment industry who could get money easily. Otherwise, it was the nouveau riche who didn't know what money was. It was different in America. It was very easy for high school students to get their hands on marijuana. After class, they would run to the toilet to smoke marijuana, just like Huaxia high school students. Therefore, even the poor in the United States still had ways to buy marijuana. They still had the money to spare. If they could even afford to smoke marijuana, they couldn't afford to drink alcohol. Some lazy drunkards even went to bars early in the morning and drank until late at night before going home to sleep drunk. Although Bai Xiaoye was amused by Su Yun on the surface, she was annoyed. She pushed open the door of a small bar and walked in. Su Yun had no choice but to follow her in. He didn't really care about the money in his pocket, but he was worried that Bai Xiaoye would drink this kind of alcohol to drown her sorrows. Using alcohol to drown one's sorrows would only make one more sorrowful. This was definitely a famous saying. Su Yun had personally experienced it. He was very sure of this point. The more troublesome things one encountered, the easier it was to get drunk. However, the more troublesome things were, the more people liked to use alcohol to numb themselves. It was as if this kind of anesthesia could temporarily make people forget the depression and irritation in their hearts. However, he forgot that this was only a temporary solution to his annoyance. Whiskey for 2. Bai Xiaoye sat down at the counter and knocked on it. The owner of the bar was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 50s. His beard was very long and a little white. He quickly placed 2 glasses in front of Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye and skillfully poured about half a liter of wine into each glass. Then, he took out an ice bucket and placed it in front of the 2, indicating that if they wanted to add ice, they could help themselves. Bai Xiaoye didn't wait for Su Yun to sit down and drank the whiskey in one gulp. It was too easy to drink one sip at a time. "Boss, can you pour more?" Bai Xiaoye asked. "You said it was for 2. The middle-aged bar owner tilted his head and shrugged. "Just pour half a glass?" "Fill it up," Bai Xiaoye said. A 250 milliliter whiskey glass only filled half a liter to the brim. The bar owner smiled. He could tell that this Asian girl was thinking about something. He poured a full glass for Bai Xiaoye. "Don't drink so much." Su Yun didn't know Bai Xiaoye's alcohol tolerance and didn't dare to let her drink too much. He didn't know what to do if she drank too much. "Don't force yourself if you can't drink." After saying that, Su Yun also drank the wine in his cup in one gulp. The bar owner stood opposite of Su Yun with the bottle and raised his eyebrows. He seemed to be asking if he wanted to fill it up too. Su Yun was even more direct. Just give me the bottle. I've never sold a whole bottle of whiskey in my shop. The bar owner was a little surprised. He didn't know how to charge. Su Yun had long heard that if a Chinese bought a pack of cigarettes that cost $70 in the US, the Chinese would give the seller $120 for the cigarettes. He had no idea that the other party meant that he should just give $50. Instead, he thought that the Chinese were stupid and returned the $20 to the Chinese. Then, he gave the Chinese $30 in a proper manner. He thought that this was the correct way to do things. It seemed that the bar owner was the same. Primary school math was probably taught by an art teacher. How much is a serving for each of you? Based on the volume of whiskey you poured just now, it's about 25 milliliters per person. This bottle of bourbon is 750 milliliters, which means that you can pour 30 servings per bottle. Su Yun, you'll let it go like this, right? If you pay $1 per person, this bottle will be $30. The bar owner listened but still didn't understand in the end. However, he was too lazy to think too much about it. Whatever. If he was willing to pay 30 servings, then he would pay 30 servings. Because he felt that he had never drunk 30 servings per bottle, while Su Yun was teaching the American uncle the simplest addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, Bai Xiaoye had already finished her entire glass of whiskey. You don't have to drink like this even if you're worried. Su Yun quickly stopped Bai Xiaoye from snatching the bottle from him. I'll accompany you. Let's drink slowly. There's only one bottle. No one can drink more than that. Su Yun, are you really my brother? Why are you so stingy? One bottle? Who can drink that much? Forget it, forget it. I don't want you as my brother. Bai Xiaoye even tried to provoke him. If you want to be my brother, then be more generous. Su Yun smiled bitterly. He also wanted to be generous. However, that required capital. If he had nothing to do now, and Bai Xiaoye said she wanted to drink, he would definitely take her to the bar on the top floor of Star Kai and drink to their heart's content. First, he didn't have to worry about suddenly having something to do. Second, he didn't have to worry about not having enough money to spend. But now, he had to at least save enough money for the plane ticket home. He couldn't possibly ask Celine for money to buy a plane ticket after returning to Canada, right? As a man, he really couldn't open his mouth to ask for money. Okay, I'll fill you up, okay? Su Yun had no choice but to pour more whiskey for Bai Xiaoye. He had to keep an eye on her now. He couldn't let her drink without restraint. However, in the blink of an eye, 3 to 5 bottles of whiskey were finished. Su Yun couldn't hold it in anymore. He was annoyed. No matter who it was, if they knew that their father threw them to someone else after giving birth to them and went to have fun, no one would feel comfortable. Su Yun endured it earlier because he felt that he was a man. Bai Xiaoye had already suffered a blow from this incident and was very weak. He didn't want to show anything. However, after a few glasses of whiskey, Su Yun's psychological defense collapsed. He was also annoyed and uncomfortable. Who could he talk to? Other than his sister, Bai Xiaoye, he had no one to talk to. Who could he talk to about this kind of thing? Who wouldn't laugh at him? It was fine to talk to Bai Xiaoye. After all, Su Yun's father was also Bai Xiaoye's father. The two of them were truly in the same boat. Fortunately, they were both experts. Although alcohol affected them, it wasn't to the extent that they couldn't control themselves like ordinary people. Even the bar owner, who was a good drinker, was impressed by the two's alcohol tolerance. By noon, there were already 7 empty bottles beside the two of them. Su Yun had also enlightened Bai Xiaoye. Now, it was Bai Xiaoye's turn to enlighten Su Yun. Brother, it's better that you haven't seen him since you were young. Out of sight, out of mind. I feel that this is quite good. It's better not to have such a father. Come, let's drink again. Chapter 11:28. Just as the two of them were drinking to their heart's content, a few black men dressed in hip-hop outfits walked in. When they saw Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye, A black man wearing a baseball cap walked in front with a bright smile on his face. He swayed his body back and forth as he walked to Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye. All kinds of copper chains hung around his neck, swayed with his body. Wow! Oriental beauty! The black man wearing the baseball cap smiled especially brightly. He pulled a chair over and sat next to Bai Xiaoye. Can I buy you a drink? Even if Bai Xiaoye was usually in a good mood, she would still be upset when something like this happened. However, today was different. Today, Bai Xiaoye was in a terrible mood. She was really annoyed. At this time, someone insisted on touching the muzzle of a gun. It would be strange if they didn't die. Bai Xiaoye didn't even turn her head. She raised her hand and poured half a glass of whiskey on the black man wearing the baseball cap. How could this be? The black man's eyes widened, and he immediately turned hostile. What Oriental beauty! How dare you trample on my face like this? Big brother! A few hip-hop underlings who followed the black man wearing the baseball cap also rushed up. Of course, Su Yun wouldn't let his sister suffer. After drinking some alcohol, he couldn't care less. He directly stood up and grabbed the bar chair under him. Seeing that a fight was about to break out, the bearded bar owner slammed his hand on the bar counter. Randall, you better not cause trouble in my bar. Unless you think you've lived for too long. After saying that, the bar owner also glared at Su Yun. And you foreign friends, this is America. After saying that, the bearded bar owner directly took out a rifle from the bar counter. The style of the rifle seemed to be very old, but the body of the rifle was very clean. It didn't look like it had been used for many years at all. From this, it could be seen that the bearded bar owner was definitely a gun lover. The black man in the baseball cap, who was originally at daggers drawn, instantly lost his temper. The black man in the baseball cap was called Randall. He seemed to be familiar with the bearded boss. The bearded boss seemed to have some influence. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stopped the black men from doing what they were doing with just one sentence. Randall glanced at the bearded boss and forced out a smile. Big beard, I'll give you face and not cause trouble in your shop. The bearded boss put away his gun and took a glass. He poured half a glass of whiskey for the black man in the baseball cap. This glass is on me. Randall didn't hold back. He picked up the glass and drained it in one gulp. Then, he slammed the glass on the bar. Of course, Randall couldn't take it lying down. He sneered and pointed at Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye. I'll give face to the boss here. If those hooligans dared to provoke them again, she would let them know what a Hua Xiar expert was. When the bearded boss collected the money, he gave Su Yun a discount, but Su Yun's heart still ached. Bai Xiaoye's alcohol tolerance was really good, but she had been with Zhuo Langyue for so many years. How could Zhuo Langyue let a girl like her learn how to drink? Therefore, even though Bai Xiaoye could drink, she still couldn't handle the alcohol. She even swayed a little when she walked. It's okay, right? Su Yun asked, will it be okay if we get ambushed by hooligans later? Bai Xiaoye snorted in disdain. Just a few hooligans, little vegetables. At this moment, the little vegetables that Bai Xiaoye was talking about were staring at the entrance of the bar under the shade of the street corner, worried that the two people would run away. Although the bar owner, Christian, was already in his 50s, he was once a powerful person who unified all the hooligans in this area. With his status, Randall wouldn't cause trouble in his bar. Christian was old and didn't want to cause trouble for himself. Randall understood this. However, as long as the two people came out, he could do whatever he wanted. Christian couldn't do anything about it. Big brother, they're out. A tall and strong guy behind Randall said. Randall frowned impatiently. Don't tell me I don't have eyes? You guys, go and get them here immediately. If they don't come, drag them here even if you have to. I want them to have a taste of this trash can. At the end of the alley, there was a trash can. Randall stood at the end of the street and sneered at the two prey who were completely unaware of the danger they were in. This woman was too beautiful. He was going to have a good time today. No one would be able to stop him. Randall's subordinates quickly rushed out of the intersection and surrounded Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye. Randall was waiting to see how these two little things would run away and be dragged over by his subordinates. However, he was surprised to see that the man and woman actually nodded and walked over with his subordinates. Chapter 11:29. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye were quickly brought over by Randall's subordinates. A few black and strong American street thugs blocked the entrance of the alley with their bodies. Even if something tragic happened inside, the passers-by wouldn't meddle in other people's business. Everyone knew what was going on inside. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye faced Randall and the wide green trash can at the end of the alley. Perhaps the sanitation workers in charge of these streets were too irresponsible. The trash can looked like it had not been cleaned for many days. Some of the garbage bags were thrown outside, and flies and rats were buzzing around. The more they looked at it, the more disgusted they felt. Xiao Luo did not expect the Environmental Protection Bureau of the United States to be similar to the Environmental Protection Bureau of Huaxia. They both raised a bunch of useless bums who only knew how to eat and not do anything. The Environmental Protection Bureau ignored all the urban household waste pollution, urban industrial waste pollution, urban water pollution, and the headache-inducing urban noise pollution. No matter who went to the Environmental Protection Bureau to do something or report about environmental and mental pollution, the Environmental Protection Bureau's people liked to reply with one sentence: "Our bureau has already arranged for the city administration and law enforcement to deal with it. We will inform you when it is done." F***CK. What kind of people do you think the city administration is? You can order them around whenever you want. Do you know that they are city administration officers? If the city administration officers knew that the Environmental Protection Bureau was so arrogant, they would definitely destroy them in a matter of minutes. However, there was one thing that Su Yun did not understand. The American Empire's environment was very good. They did not even need to install a water purifier to drink the water directly from their pipes. In China, even if they used a water purifier, they still had to boil it before they dared to drink it. If they did not use a water purifier, they would not be able to drink tap water. With so much water being boiled, it would be difficult to drink. All these things were attributed to the Environmental Protection Bureau in Huaxia. Take the famous tourist attraction in Huaxia, the hometown of Confucius and Mencius, Ciufu, as an example. The city wanted to become the most hygienic city in the country. The funny thing was that the Shaoyi River 50 meters north of the entrance of the Environmental Protection Bureau was as dirty as a smelly drain. It was a world-famous cultural holy land. Every morning and evening, there were all kinds of noises from supermarkets, square dances, and construction. These noises seriously disturbed the residents and the image of a tourist city. Xiao Luo did not understand the purpose of the Environmental Protection Bureau in this city. Why not cancel it? Why should the taxpayers' money be used to support a bunch of idlers? Needless to say, such situations existed all over the country. How many people have a nervous breakdown because of the noise, but they don't know that noise pollution is also a kind of pollution, and the Environmental Protection Agency has the right to be responsible for this matter. You want to splash me? Randall sneered. Do you know who I am? Seeing that Bai Xiaoye was about to hit him, Su Yun reached out and stopped her. She was drunk, so she wouldn't hold back. It would be too much if she killed him. Although this black hooligan deserved a beating, he didn't deserve to die. Let me tell you, I am the Wolf of Seattle. Randall pointed his thumb at himself and said, Today, the two of you must give me an explanation. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving here alive. What do you want? Just say it. Su Yun calmed Bai Xiaoye down as he asked. Randall heard Su Yun's words and thought that they were afraid. It's not too late to know your mistake now. You, hand over all the cash you have on you. If you don't have more than $1,000, go steal from the streets until you have enough. Su Yun smiled helplessly. That's it? Of course. Randall smiled sinisterly. This woman wants to make me comfortable today. If she doesn't, don't even think about leaving. Humph, otherwise, I'll let you know the power of the Wolf of Seattle. Before the word harm could leave his mouth, Randall's body was sent flying in a perfect parabola for tens of meters. His head plunged straight into that disgusting green rubbish bin. Su Yun wasn't paying attention and didn't control Bai Xiaoye, so Bai Xiaoye's long leg kicked out. Who could he blame? He could only blame Randall's mouth for being too cheap. Even if Su Yun wanted to give him a chance to get out of here quickly, he couldn't. Randall's underlings saw their boss being kicked away. In a fit of anger, they didn't care about their own fate and directly rushed over. Bai Xiaoye dodged to the side and said to Su Yun, "I'll leave it to you." Then, she walked out of the alley without looking back. The stench of the trash can was completely released by Randall's fall. It was quite pungent, and Bai Xiaoye couldn't take it anymore. In such a bad environment, she would let Su Yun handle it. After 10 seconds, Su Yun didn't even dare to breathe. After dealing with the last hooligan, he quickly rushed out of the alley. The green trash can at the end of the alley had already been filled to the brim by a few black punks. The garbage was overflowing, and Randall, who was buried at the bottom, had already fainted from the stench. The Wolf of Seattle was nothing more than this. All of Bai Xiaoye's unhappiness seemed to have disappeared with that kick. She was in a much better mood. Of course, this was only on the surface. No one could understand what she was thinking. Half an hour later, Su Yun finally received the first call from Matthew after he left Hua Xia. This caused Su Yun's emotions to surge a little. "What's the situation now?" Su Yun went straight to the point. Matthew wanted to say something but hesitated. "I did find something, but—" "Just say it," Su Yun said. "I know what I'm doing. If it's something I can't do, I won't do it." The CIA wasn't the only one who got rid of the Great Circle. They colluded with the Mafia. A lot of things were done by the CIA on the surface, but behind the scenes, it was done by the Mafia, Matthew said. Mr. Gu isn't being held in a place related to the US government. Su Yun was stunned. "What do you mean?" "Mr. Gu is someone the US government wants to capture, but the forces that cooperated with the government have turned hostile. They want to use Mr. Gu to get more benefits from the US government. But the US government doesn't agree," Matthew said. "I've asked a lot of people, and the situation seems to have reached a stalemate." "Who's so powerful? Even the US government can't afford to offend them?" Su Yun frowned. "Could it be related to the 5 major families?" Matthew nodded. "Yes. A long time ago, the American Mafia was the most complete organization in the American underworld. Since the 1950s, the American Mafia had begun to take shape. There were many factions, and many independent underworld groups that controlled the American Mafia had spread throughout the major cities in the country. This was a well-organized mafia organization with a strict hierarchy. Ever since its founder, Don Vito, left the United States, the highest ruling body of the American Mafia was the Committee. The committee was made up of the 12 leaders of the various gangs in the country. It was the supreme authority of the American Mafia, and the chairman of the committee was the highest leader. The chairman of the committee was Carlo Gambino, the leader of the Gambino family, one of the 5 families of the New York Mafia. Back then, the biggest mafia group was the New England Mafia. That was because it was the leader in terms of numbers, territory, and wealth. However, the 5 families were all concentrated in New York. Thus, they were particularly powerful. Chapter 11:30. Out of the 5 great families, the Gambino family was the one that could not be offended the most. Compared to them, the other 4 families were considered easy to offend. Of course, this was only in relative terms. In reality, none of the 5 great mafia families in New York were easy to offend. This was especially so for the Gambino family. Even the law enforcement department did not want to offend them. Therefore, Su Yun definitely did not want to offend them either. However, 80% of the people who dared to capture Gu Guolong and go against the US government were probably the Gambino family. If it were the other families, the US government would not have such a headache. Su Yun felt his scalp go numb. "Even if you don't tell me, I know who did it." Of the 5 great mafia families in New York City, the Gambino family, the Genovese family, the Lucchese family, the Bonanno family, and the Colombo family, the Gambino family had the greatest power and influence. The founder of the organization, Gambino, was born in Sicily, Italy. In 1921, he smuggled himself into the U.S. by boat and settled down in Brooklyn, New York. He then started his mafia activities. Gambino's activities included illegal casinos, loan sharking, kidnapping, drug trafficking, and the most prominent trait was that he used his control over the Seamen's Union to blackmail the laborers. Over the past few years, the Gambino family's influence had expanded rapidly, negatively affecting the economic and social development of New York City and many other regions in the U.S. The 5 great mafia families had also divided the areas under their jurisdiction. Among them, the Gambino family's jurisdiction was the wealthy New York City and most of the docks in New Jersey. From this, it could be seen that the Gambino family was not to be offended. Other than the Gambino family's current godfather, Randolph, no one else has the courage to ask the U.S. government for $1 billion to ransom someone. Matthew said, "Based on what I heard, Randolph firmly believes that Gu Gualong has important secrets that the U.S. government wants to know. Therefore, they won't let him go easily. Asking for money is a small matter. The main thing is to show the U.S. government who's boss. If the U.S. government knows that the recent sanctions against them have been too severe, they'll bite back." $1 billion? Damn, even old Master Gu was shocked. Who knew if all of their businesses in Canada added up to $1 billion? The Gambino family really dared to ask for that. They probably won't be able to get that much money, right? Su Yun said. Matthew sighed. If they only want money, I'm afraid the U.S. government would have relented. However, they made an even more outrageous request, which was for the U.S. government to withdraw from the drug inspection operation in Brooklyn. After all, Brooklyn was the borough with the largest population among the 5 boroughs in New York. Due to the strict investigation and punishment of Manhattan and Queens a while ago, the Gambino family's interests were greatly damaged. That's why they want revenge. This matter definitely won't be settled. Su Yun. Even a fool would understand this. If the government were to go along with this, they wouldn't be able to raise their heads in front of the Gambino family. That's why things are a little tricky. Matthew shook his head helplessly. Su Yun chuckled. What's so troublesome about that? I've thought it through. It was better for old Master Gu to be in the hands of the Gambino family than in the hands of the U.S. government. At the very least, the godfather of the Gambino family, Randolph, is in the same line as old Master Gu. One is a playboy family, while the other is a playboy society. To put it bluntly, they're both organizations that violate the rules. I feel that old Master Gu will receive more respect in Randolph's hands. On the contrary, he won't be as popular in the hands of the U.S. government. Matthew's jaw almost dropped when he heard that. You can even think about it in reverse. Also, snatching someone from the hands of the mafia should be easier than snatching someone from the hands of the U.S. government, right? Su Yun smiled. I feel that this will be more beneficial. Matthew shrugged. Why do I feel that it won't be easy? All right, let me think of a way to deal with the rest. Su Yun said, Matthew, thank you. Thank me? Haha. Matthew laughed bitterly. Are you trying to embarrass me? All of this happened because of me, but I hid in the safest place and let old Master Gu and Miss Gu be in danger. I even let you take such a huge risk to do such a dangerous thing. Brother Yun, you've really slapped me in the face. Su Yun grinned. Matthew, don't think too much. I didn't mean it that way. These are things that we can't predict. If you have any news later, you must tell me immediately. I'll talk to you later. My place seems to be quite far from New York. I might need some time to get there. Don't tell me you're in Seattle. Matthew asked in surprise. Su Yun nodded. Do I need to praise you for being smart? If I'm not in Seattle, where else can I go? After I arrived in Seattle, I didn't sense the scent of a large number of U.S. secret agents. I thought that since your home is in Seattle, there should be a lot of CIA secret agents here. It seems that I was thinking too much. Brother Yun, if you need a car, I have a car parked at the airport. It's a red new model Accord. The key is in the password safe at the airport. The safe number is 1745, and the password is 010101, Matthew said. Su-Yun was stunned. Why didn't you say so earlier? If you had said so earlier, they wouldn't have been able to get a black car last night. Why did you buy a Japanese car? Matthew grinned. My patriotism is not that irrational. I can prove my patriotism with my contributions. There's no need to be so radical about a certain country's products. After all, Japanese cars are easy to worry about. It's suitable for people like me who don't understand the mechanics of cars. It won't break down easily. American cars have a lot of small problems. We're not like the Americans. Everyone uses a wrench to fix their cars. Most of the small problems are solved by themselves. What he said made sense. Those who smashed Japanese cars under the guise of patriotism were no different from those Japanese who killed and robbed. They all liked to destroy other people's property and interfere with other people's internal affairs. Those people were definitely the classic, patriotic thieves. You're much better than those bandits who use patriotism as an excuse. Su-Yun smiled. Then I'll go to the airport to get the car now. If it's still fine after I use it, I'll return it to you. After hanging up the phone, Su-Yun waved his hand and called Bai Xiaoye to the airport. When Bai Xiaoye heard that they were going to the airport to get the car and drive from Seattle to New York, she was dumbfounded. It's a direct flight that takes about 5 hours. The cheapest ticket is about $500. You don't have to drive there just to save 2 people's tickets, right? It's only $1,000. Sister, you don't even have a passport with you. Why don't you go and buy a ticket and see if they can sell it to you? Su-Yun rolled his eyes helplessly. Do you think I want to drive there? It's hard to even get on a bus, let alone a plane. Also, the bus will take at least 3 days. After all, it was a distance of 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers. Bai Xiaoye pondered for a while and decided that driving was the most suitable option. If she drove fast, she would definitely be able to get there within 2 days. Then there's no other way. Bai Xiaoye nodded. We'll drive in shifts. 4 hours each. It shouldn't be too tiring. At this time, Su-Yun was already counting the fuel cost with his fingers. Luckily, it was a Japanese car. He could still save some fuel. Chapter 1131. Since they had decided to leave, Su-Yun and Bai Xiaoye didn't want to have any regrets. Besides, they couldn't travel after drinking so much. As a country on wheels, the United States had accumulated a lot of experience in preventing traffic accidents. Punishing drunk driving was definitely the most important thing. Other than revoking the driver's license on the spot and being jailed for a year, drunk drivers who caused harm to life could be charged with second-degree murder, which carried a maximum penalty of death. In recent years, the blood alcohol concentration standard for drunk driving had become stricter, dropping from 0.8% to 0.5%. Due to the higher proportion of young people driving after drinking, for drivers under the age of 21, a blood alcohol concentration of 0.1% was considered drunk driving. The strict traffic law even made Americans drink less alcohol at parties. Since the 1990s, the fatality rate per 10,000 vehicles in the United States had dropped to 1.7. Compared to Xia, which was higher than 9, the American Empire's experience in this area was really worth referencing. To put it bluntly, it was still a problem of whether the traffic law enforcement was strict enough. There was a common saying at the Chinese table, "Don't worry, I asked the traffic police in the afternoon, and they didn't check it tonight." Then, they began to eat and drink. Of course, they could also look into Xia's drinking culture. Without drinking, they couldn't talk. It was a bit ridiculous. Making friends required drinking, discussing business, accompanying leaders, upholding the code of brotherhood, and even collecting debts. In any case, 80% of the things couldn't be done without alcohol as a catalyst. Because he didn't want to get into trouble for drunk driving, Su-Yun decided to wait with Bai Xiaoye until the alcohol dissipated. It would be safe and at ease. During this period of time, of course, they couldn't leave any regrets in Seattle. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye went straight to Park Market. There were always so many people in front of the first Starbucks. After buying 2 cups of coffee, the two of them started to wander around. Strolling through every nook and cranny of Pike's Market, there are buckets of fresh flowers, flying fish shows, fresh pastries and fruits and vegetables, artisanal cheeses, local honey, wine, international restaurants, imported goods, antiques, collectibles, and a plethora of unexpected items to be found at any time. When they were hungry, they found a small restaurant and had fried fish sticks and oysters. Then, he agreed to buy Xiaoye's request and took the Ferris wheel. Overlooking Puget Sound and the city center, the scenery was beautiful. After riding the Ferris wheel, the two of them went to visit the Seattle Museum of Art. In the evening, Su Yun brought Bai Xiaoye to Mount Christian Park and looked at the space tower in the distance. The exquisiteness and quietness of Seattle really made one reluctant to leave. Since he had the time to walk around, it was a worthwhile trip. Finally, Su Yun used the alcohol tester he bought at Parker Market to test the alcohol content of his breath. It was completely 0. He could finally go on his way with peace of mind. Now, there was no such thing as driving overnight or not. They only cared about driving in one breath. If they were tired, they would switch shifts. The sooner they arrived in New York, the less danger old Master Gu would be in. However, ever since Gu Guolong had been brought to New York, he had been leading a good life. He had seen the Secret Service of the American Empire, and he had also seen the Gambino family, which was definitely of Italian mafia blood. They were much more ruthless and sinister than Big Circle. The difference between Gu Guolong and Randolph was definitely not a matter of 1 or 2 streets. Randolph was more than 10 streets ahead of him. However, Randolph had been treating Gu Guolong well these days. Not only did he not show any disrespect to him, but he was also very polite to him. This made Gu Guolong a little confused. In America, regardless of whether one was in the mafia or not, when they saw Randolph, they had to respectfully call him Godfather. Gu Guolong was very clear about his identity, so he was very polite to Randolph. Godfather, thank you for taking care of me these few days. However, I really don't understand how an old man like me can be of any use to you and your family. Mr. Gu, you are too polite. Randolph sat on the lambskin sofa opposite Gu Guolong. He smiled and took a sip of coffee. Since the government values you so much, I will definitely not mistreat you, Mr. Gu. As long as the government agrees to my conditions, I will personally hand Mr. Gu over to the government. Randolph paused for a second and continued, Mr. Gu, I am quite curious about what happened between you and the government. Even when I asked for $1 billion USD, the government didn't even bat an eye. Ha ha ha, Mr. Gu, you're quite capable, huh? I am afraid that even my head is not worth $1 billion USD, right? Godfather, you must be joking. Gu Guolong shook his head helplessly. To be honest, until now, he still didn't understand why such a big disaster would happen to Big Circle. Was it because Matthew left through their merchant ship? Wasn't the government making a big fuss out of nothing? Mr. Gu, if I am not mistaken, you must have a close relationship with Kevin Matthew, right? Randolph smiled. Ha ha, otherwise, why would it be so tragic? Gu Guolong still shook his head helplessly. Godfather, if Mr. Matthew and I were really close, I would have left with him. Ha ha ha, I don't care whether you admit it or not. Randolph smiled. I just want to get what I want. I don't care whether Kevin Matthew becomes a weapon for the Americans or Hua Xia. Gu Guolong didn't know what to say to Randolph. After all, they were not on the same side. He was being polite to Randolph because he wanted to use Randolph to ask for more conditions from the government. If he was useless, Randolph would have thrown him into the deep river to feed the fishes. In a private mansion located at the southern tip of Brooklyn, the conversation between Randolph and Randolph wasn't pleasant, but they didn't have any conflicts either. Mr. Gu, you haven't been out of your house recently, so you must be lacking in information. Randolph said. I heard some news, but I don't know if I should tell you. Gu Guolong frowned. He didn't have any information about his family, but he wasn't interested in any other news except for his family. There was an arms merchant ship passing through Canada near the Pacific Ocean. It was sunk by the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Forces frigate. Randolph said, "I wonder if this has anything to do with Mr. Gu's circle." Gu Guolong couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up and his mind was blank. All he wanted to know was his daughter's safety. The corner of Randolph's mouth curled up into a smile. The firearms business of the Great Circle was nothing to Randolph. Only those who had no connections in America and Europe would go to Asia to sell firearms. Of course, this also proved that the 5 big families controlled the American arms business. Gu Guolong's big circle couldn't interfere. "Is there any news from the people on the ship?" Gu Guolong asked after a long pause. Randolph smiled. "I can help you find out, as long as you stay here and cooperate with me." "Godfather, I won't leave," Gu Guolong said. "I just want you to help me find out where my daughter is. As long as you help me, I can stay here forever." "No, no, no. How can I force you to stay here forever? Ha ha ha. As long as the American government agrees to my request, I can send you away any time," Randolph said. "Of course, if you need any information, I can arrange someone to help you find her. Don't worry. I will inform you as soon as I get any news about your daughter." Chapter 1132. Speaking of New York, those who had been there would definitely have a deep impression of it. The places that had the deepest impact on Huaxia were the few Chinatowns in New York, such as Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn, 8th Avenue, and Amherst in Queens. Of course, the oldest Chinatown was in Manhattan. Its main feature was Old Cantonese, which was more traditional. Most importantly, the Chinese food there was delicious and not expensive. Of course, the Statue of Liberty had to be mentioned. This was the iconic statue of the American Empire. The American Empire emphasized democracy and freedom, so the Statue of Liberty meant a lot to its citizens. Other than that, there was Wall Street, Times Square, and the World Trade Center site that was now known as Ground Zero. The site had been preserved as if to remind the Americans of the disastrous terrorist attack. When one reached New York, one had to go to Park Avenue to see how grand the luxurious buildings on both sides were. Many of the past nobles and billionaires from all over the world lived there. Also, one had to go to Broadway to listen to the opera. If one was not afraid of heights, one could climb the Empire State Building at night to enjoy the night view of New York and experience what an international metropolis was like. Then, one would know how unworthy the so-called second- and third-tier cities were. They were frogs at the bottom of a well. The biggest city in the American Empire was definitely not for show. A billionaire who can start from scratch on Wall Street is really scheming. One had to know that this multi-ethnic city had immigrants from 97 countries and regions, and the number of languages spoken here was as high as 800. Compared to New York, Yenjing, Shenzhen, and Guangshan did not seem to have any sense of regional glory. The Big Apple, Nightless City, Gotham City. A pair of nicknames that came from the outside world announced the city's influence on the world. This was a world-class city that directly affected the global economy, finance, media, politics, education, entertainment, and fashion. Otherwise, the Chopsticks Brothers and the White Tiger Brothers would not have acted out such a sad and happy story there. This city had a huge global influence in business and finance. New York's financial district, with Lower Manhattan's Wall Street as the head, was known as the world's financial center. The New York Stock Exchange was the world's second-largest stock exchange. It was once the largest exchange until 1996, when its trading volume was surpassed by Nasdaq. The New York Times Square was located at the hub of the Broadway Theater District. It was known as the crossroads of the world and one of the centers of the world's entertainment industry. Chinatown in Manhattan, New York, was the most densely populated place for Chinese people in the Western Hemisphere. The city of New York was filled with all kinds of titles. It was already dawn, and Bai Xiaoye was driving on the interstate highway. However, Su Yun, who had been driving all night, didn't seem to be sleepy at all. He even opened the sunroof and sang loudly, "I've never been to New York, I've never been to Hawaii, I've never been to San Francisco in a denim jacket, I've never been to New York, I want to feel the air of freedom, I want to break free from the shackles and release myself. Alright, don't be crazy. It's not like I'm asking you to participate in the super draft. Bai Xiaoye had slowly accepted this big brother of hers. Although she felt a little strange, there was an indescribable feeling in her heart. Perhaps this was the power of blood ties. Su Yun sat firmly and fastened his seatbelt. He said smoothly, "Sister, I'm going to take a nap first. Call me when you're tired. There's a lot of Red Bull in the storage compartment beside the door. If you're tired, you can get 2 more bottles. Okay, don't worry and sleep. I won't throw you away." Bai Xiaoye smiled. She thought that Su Yun called her sister quite smoothly. He didn't even ask if she was used to it. The power of blood always gave people an inexplicable sense of closeness. When Su Yun called her sister, Bai Xiaoye instantly felt closer to him. In a sense, Bai Xiaoye, who suddenly realized that she still had family, unconsciously wanted to find the warmth of this family. However, her mother had hurt her too deeply. She had been by her side for so many years, but she had never admitted it. Therefore, it was very difficult for Bai Xiaoye to accept it. Fortunately, there was Su Yun. Bai Xiaoye already had an inexplicable sense of closeness to him. Now that she knew that he was her brother, she naturally felt closer. Therefore, Bai Xiaoye's sibling relationship with Su Yun quickly warmed up because of her desire for family. Compared to a mother who suddenly appeared, it was easier for Bai Xiaoye to accept a brother. No matter what, the two of them had an equally unreliable father. Last night, Su Yun was worried about Bai Xiaoye's jet lag, so he didn't wake her up after she fell asleep. He drove the whole night. As soon as he closed his eyes, he fell asleep. It was easy to sleep, but difficult to wake up. Especially in the car, Su Yun slept for 6 hours in a wobbly manner. He only woke up because he felt someone digging in his pocket. The car was out of gas, and the spare gas tank in the trunk was also out of gas. Bai Xiaoye saw a gas station, so she came down to refill the car. After filling up the car, she went to Su Yun to look for his wallet. Only then did she accidentally wake Su Yun up. Su Yun got out of the car and stretched. He paid the bill at the gas station and asked casually, "Where are we now?" "The town of Melrose, Minnesota." The gas station owner took the money and stuffed it into his pocket without looking. "We'll be in the center of Minneapolis soon." Su Yun was stunned. Since they set off last night, they had driven for nearly 16 hours. They had actually gone from Seattle, Washington, through Montana, North Dakota, and now they were in the center of Minnesota. They were almost halfway there. It seemed that Bai Xiaoye's speed in the past 6 hours wasn't slow. Seeing the excitement on Su Yun's face, Bai Xiaoye, who didn't care much about distance, was puzzled. "Are we almost there? After Minnesota, Chicago, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, we'll reach New York." Although Su Yun had never lived in the United States before, his mind was a living map. As a member of the Special Forces, if he couldn't even understand the geography of the country, then he might as well not work in the military. Hearing that they still had to pass through several states, Bai Xiaoye was no longer excited. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. No one will send us off if we sit here." On the road again, Su Yun, who had slept, was full of energy. The two of them changed shifts every few hours and didn't feel tired even after driving until night time. After dark, the two of them found a fast food burger restaurant to eat. Then, Su Yun let Bai Xiaoye sleep at night while he drove through the night. When Bai Xiaoye opened her eyes again, she was surprised to find that the Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island, which was located next to the Golden Gate of New York Harbor, was right in front of her. She was so excited that she got up so violently that her head hit the roof of the car. Su Yun was stretching outside the car when he heard the noise. He turned around and looked inside the car. "You're awake." Bai Xiaoye nodded cutely. "We're here." "Yes." Su Yun smiled as he stretched. Since they were here, they had to get down to business. If they wanted to find old Gu Guolong, they had to contact the Gambino family, a big mafia family in New York. Chapter 1133. Are you ready to start? Bai Xiaoye opened the door and got out. Have you thought of anything? Who's the godfather of the Gambino family now? How do we contact him? I don't have a clue at all. Su Yun smiled. We don't need any clues. As long as we're ruthless enough, they'll naturally come looking for us. Are you going to offend them on purpose? And then... Bai Xiaoye's mouth fell open in shock. Are you crazy? If we don't handle this well, we'll be hunted down by all the mafia in New York. Even if you don't think much of them, you can't win against so many of them. They're not like Hua Xia's hooligans. At most, they'll stab you with a knife. They have so many guns, and bullets don't have eyes. In any case, if we want to save old Master Gu from them, we'll have to offend them. Su Yun said, apart from this, there's no other way to attract Randolph's attention. You're not scared, are you? Bai Xiaoye flicked her hair and puffed out her chest. I'm scared? Are you kidding me? Why would I be scared? You're not scared at all, okay? Then, we'll do as you say. Then, let's split up and find out what kind of business the Gambino family cares about the most. Tonight, we'll cause some trouble for them. Su Yun said, we'll gather here at 6 tonight. Neither of us has a driver's license, so let's leave the car in the parking lot. New York's roads are too congested. It'll be troublesome if we get into an accident while driving. Bai Xiaoye stretched out her hand. Then you have to give me some money, right? What if I have to eat a hamburger or sit on the ground? I can't be penniless, right? Here, 200 should be enough, right? Spend it sparingly. Su Yun took out $200 and gave it to Bai Xiaoye. Bai Xiaoye was speechless. $200. You're really my brother. Su Yun didn't hear the compliment. Instead, he grinned. Isn't that so? Your brother treats you well, right? You're so generous, giving me $200 at once. Let those who don't have brothers be envious. I think you're really crazy. Bai Xiaoye couldn't be bothered with Su Yun anymore. She walked out of the parking lot and took a taxi. It shouldn't be that easy to find the business that the Gambino family valued the most, right? There was no time to waste. Looking at Bai Xiaoye leaving in the car, Su Yun felt guilty. As an elder brother, he brought his younger sister to New York, but he only gave her 200 yen for her pocket money. He had no choice but to puff himself up at his own cost. During the earthquake, he was concerned about the disaster area and donated all his private savings. The finances of Sky Entertainment Group were completely handed over to Zhua Meiyan. As the boss, he didn't get paid at all. He was also the boss of Shinkai Hotel. He didn't get paid, only the year-end bonus. He had just returned to the Dragon Brigade, and although he had been promoted, he would probably have to wait until next month to receive his salary. Su Yun couldn't possibly ask Ruan Qingshuang and the others for money. Although if he were to open his mouth, they would definitely fork out the money without hesitation, but Su Yun really couldn't open his mouth. After all, he was a man. Chong and the 3 tigers of Southern City had also bought houses in Shenzhen and were now mortgage slaves. Su Yun was too embarrassed to ask them for money. Lin Ge was in a relationship, so his expenses would definitely be high. Moreover, this fellow also didn't have a fixed income, so he must be quite poor. He was probably waiting for the year-end bonus from the hotel. After thinking about it, Su Yun could only make this younger sister of his suffer. He didn't have much money, so she should spend less. The main thing was that he still had to leave enough money for the two of them to fly back. He couldn't possibly spend all his money here and borrow money from Celine when he went back to Vancouver to buy a plane ticket, right? That would be too embarrassing. Su Yun told Bai Xiaoye that they were going to split up to find out more. In fact, he wanted Bai Xiaoye to walk around the Big Apple and experience the local culture. This trip wouldn't be in vain. As for where they could go to poke at the Gambino family's sore spot, he didn't need to do that to know. The Italian mafia's godfather of godfathers, Salvatore Le Piccolo, had been arrested in a police raid. Through drug trafficking, extortion, loan sharking, smuggling, counterfeiting, online piracy, and other illegal activities, they earned over €90 billion annually. As the most famous godfather of the modern American mafia, Randolph's ability to earn money might not be as good as the godfather of godfathers, but it shouldn't be a problem for him to earn several billion USD annually, right? His methods were nothing more than drug trafficking, extortion, loan sharking, smuggling, counterfeiting, online piracy, and other illegal activities. Many people might not understand why online piracy was so profitable. That was because they weren't in this line of work. Piracy was to forcefully take the copyright owner's benefits. This was no different from robbers. Not to mention pirating commercialized movies, just pirating online novels could earn him several billion USD annually. But in the end, for Randolph to raise such conditions to the American government, it meant that his main source of income was still drugs and extortion. If he even dared to blackmail the American government, what else did he not dare to do? But Soo-Yoon probably didn't have the time to investigate if he wanted to seize the clues of their drug trade and sabotage it. Other than drug trafficking, smuggling, and extortion, the fastest way to earn money was through loan sharking. As long as Soo-Yoon was involved in the Gambino family's loan sharking business, Randolph would naturally be furious. By then, he would definitely want to chop Soo-Yoon into pieces with his own hands. Soo-Yoon knew very well that if he wanted to meet Randolph, he would have to force him to show up. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to find him. The plan had been made long ago. Now, Soo-Yoon only needed to find out more about the Gambino family's biggest investment and wealth management company in New York. The Gambino family was so big. Even if they were in the business of loan sharking, they would definitely have a signboard approved by the government. This was a symbol of power. But those who dared to come here to borrow money knew very well that it wasn't easy to return the money they borrowed. But in some cases, there would still be many people who would choose loan sharking. Since this industry existed, it meant that there was a reason for its existence. Soo-Yoon yawned and found an ordinary American breakfast shop. He ordered a cup of coffee and a hamburger. In order to save money, he ate the hamburger until it was tasteless in his mouth. Now, he really wanted to find a Chinese breakfast shop and have some soup dumplings or spicy soup. Speaking of what he yearned for the most, it was the kind of porridge made of beans. It was thick, with 2 ounces of mutton in it. It was delicious to drink it with relish, and it was dipped in deep-fried dough sticks. It was absolutely satisfying. Other than Siufu, where Confucius lived, there probably wasn't any other place that had mutton in plain porridge, right? Not to mention America. Soo-Yoon was really thinking too much. After eating a hamburger, Soo-Yoon went back to the streets of New York. Although he didn't have much of an economic brain, he still wanted to go to Wall Street to experience the feeling of living at a fast pace. He didn't want to make himself lazy. How many wolves in sheep's clothing were there in the economic center of the world? How many stories had happened on Wall Street that made people rich overnight and also made people go back to the time before liberation? Probably no one could count them, right? The more heavenly a city looked, the more brutal the competition was. Soo-Yoon was really impressed. How big were these bosses on Wall Street? Only then would he be able to withstand such enormous pressure. Chapter 1134. The origin of the Mafia was a long story. Let's just briefly talk about the Gambino family that Randolph now controlled. Of course, Randolph naturally couldn't be compared to their founder, Gambino. But to be fair, he was definitely a capable godfather of the Mafia. Ever since John Gotti took over the Gambino family started to gradually decline. Especially after the large-scale prosecution of the Gambino family by the New York prosecutors, the number of members in the family decreased by a lot. But ever since Randolph took over, the Gambino family's situation took a turn for the better. Before Randolph took over the Gambino family, he had already controlled the shipping industry in New York through profiteering methods. He also manipulated the New York Seamen's Union to blackmail the workers. Under his leadership, the Gambino Mafia family took control of the International Seamen's Association, which represented the interests of 60,000 to 70,000 seamen in North America. Randolph then used violence and bribery to place his family members into important positions in the association. He even blackmailed the International Seamen's Union into using the seamen's medical funds to sign a huge medical contract so that he could make huge profits. Also, he had been forcefully collecting protection fees from small businesses, seamen, and dock workers in New York Harbor for a long time. He also used illegal methods to interfere with the business activities in Brooklyn and Staten Island. Ever since Randolph took over the Gambino family, he led the Gambino family and a few other big families in New York to infiltrate or control many Wall Street brokerage companies. He illegally manipulated the stock prices of more than 20 companies and forcefully sold them to investors to make huge profits. Because of this, Randolph started to be obsessed with making money quickly. The drug business was naturally a must. As long as the police didn't have enough evidence, even if everyone knew that the Gambino family was the biggest drug gang in New York, Randolph didn't care. Smuggling was also a profitable business, so Randolph naturally wouldn't let it go. Of course, other than that, there was also the simplest and most effective illegal method that could cover the entire society: usury. For a wealthy city like New York, many people dreamed of becoming the richest of the rich. Although most of them were daydreaming, there was no lack of capable people. Once Randolph took a liking to someone, he wouldn't be stingy with his loan sharks. However, once someone took Randolph's money, it meant that they would never be able to make a comeback. The terrifyingly high profits made many people unable to repay their debts. In the end, they could only become a member of Randolph's Gambino family. Those who didn't submit would have everything they had forcefully taken away from them and disappear from this world forever. Randolph didn't know how many times he had done this kind of thing. His principle was very simple. As long as it was something beneficial to the Gambino family, he would not let it go. His goal was to become the only godfather in the history of the Gambino family who could surpass the achievements of the first godfather, Gambino. He had become the most famous godfather in the history of the American Mafia. His story had also been made into a movie, and his story had become a story that would be passed down for generations to come. His story had also become an indelible history. Soo-yoon really had to be careful when dealing with such a person. Otherwise, it would be hard to say if he really fell into a trap. Just like what Bai Xiaoye had said, after all, the other party had the advantage in numbers. Right now, there were more than 100 people who directly belonged to the Gambino family, and each of them had more than 100 subordinates. These subordinates also had many capable people around them. This kind of terrifying family model was definitely not to be underestimated. Finally, it was time for the evening meeting. Bai Xiaoye's legs were tired from walking around the central area of New York. She hadn't spent $200. It wasn't because she was thrifty, but because nothing she had set her eyes on could be bought with $200. The Gambino family's fastest way to earn money is through drugs, right? What can be more terrifying than this 3,000% profit? Even lottery tickets aren't that profitable, Bai Xiaoye said. But it's almost impossible to catch them at the scene of their drug deal. Even the New York police can't do anything to them, let alone us. Basically, all the docks in New York belong to the 5 great families. I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to create trouble for them in their business. Soo-yoon nodded in agreement. Indeed, drugs were the Gambino family's greatest source of income. The profits from drugs were simply too high. Furthermore, most of the people who enjoyed it were rich people. Even the poor would think of all sorts of ways to scam, cheat, and steal in order to raise enough money for drugs. When it came to drugs, no one would ever say that they would buy drugs on credit. No drug dealer would buy drugs on credit either. Those who had some money and some background could afford it. At the very least, even if they died from the drugs, they would still have their pride and could afford it. As for those who didn't have much money and had to lower themselves to sell their bodies for drugs every day, what was the point of smoking? They would die in a cowardly manner. Let's leave the matter of catching them in their drug business to the New York police. We can't let the American police follow the corrupt example of some Hua Xia police. It's necessary to give them some pressure and a sense of crisis, Soo-yoon said. Let's look for something that's easy for them to find trouble with. Bai Xiaoye shrugged helplessly. Something that's easy to find trouble with? Will that work? Didn't you say that if the matter is too small, it won't be of any use? After all, Randolph is the godfather of the Gambino family. He can't possibly come out to deal with something so trivial, right? Su-Yun smiled meaningfully. Follow me. I'll tell you what kind of matter can make Randolph unable to sit still. Bai Xiaoye was really curious. She followed Su-Yun into a taxi. She thought that Su-Yun was going to bring her somewhere, but she didn't expect Su-Yun to bring her to a restaurant called Daniel. This restaurant was known as a wonder of the catering industry. The chef combined his imagination with the food, creating a lot of food with a unique taste, which satisfied many diners. The decoration of the restaurant was also very much in the style of the Renaissance. After all, the matter at night was risky. Su-Yun wouldn't mistreat his sister on this last dinner. It would be a little inappropriate for them to eat hamburgers. No matter what, they had to eat something good. Bai Xiaoye didn't expect Su-Yun to be so considerate. After the food, the two of them got to the main topic. They went straight to the entrance of the Gambino family's venture capital company on Wall Street. Although the Americans were busy and the pace of life on Wall Street was quite fast, they definitely didn't have the habit of working overtime. They liked to finish their work during working hours and have a good rest during break time. This was called living. Of course, when the company got off work, Wall Street was still brightly lit. After all, there were companies that worked overtime. Usually, these companies that had worked overtime had some shameful things to do. For example, in this loan shark company of the Gambino family, there would always be some special matters to deal with at night. At this moment, Randolph's right-hand man, Wesley, was sitting in front of a spacious office chair. He repeatedly ran his fingers through the few strands of hair on his head. That's right, he was bald. He hated people with beautiful hair the most. However, the person kneeling in front of him now was an Asian man with glossy hair. It was obvious that he was unwilling to kneel, but there was nothing he could do. Wesley's subordinates all had guns in their hands, and he knew very well how many people from the Gambino family were in this company. Ever since he received his first sum of money from the Gambino family's venture capital company, he started to regret it. However, it was all too late. After starting his business for so many years, the Gambino family had already collected hundreds of millions of USD in interest from him. He had only borrowed 10 million USD back then. Chapter 1135. Wesley had an unfathomable smile on his face. His right index finger tapped the table lightly, as if waiting for the man kneeling in front of him to say something. The Asian man kneeling in front of him finally opened his mouth. I really don't have any more money to continue repaying. Sir, all these years, I've worked my heart out in this business. 2 years ago, I already repaid the 10 million USD capital from Godfather, as well as the 23 million US dollars interest. But these 2 years, you still won't let me go. Cui Zhijing, I think you've really forgotten your roots. Wesley laughed coldly. That year, when Godfather gave you 10 million, you had nothing. He trusted you so much. Do you think 23 million US dollars interest is enough? Furthermore, I remember that 2 years ago, when you repaid the money, Godfather only took back the 10 million USD capital. As for the interest, he said you could continue to use it. Hearing this, Cui Zhijing was a little emotional. That's what Godfather said at that time. But he didn't say that he would continue to charge me interest for this money. Slap. Wesley slapped the table fiercely. Are you talking to me loudly? Slap me. Boss Cui, you have to think carefully. But you owe us money. It's not me who owes you money. Seeing Wesley's stern face, Cui Zhijing did not dare to be rash. The other party had so many guns pointed at his head. Do you think Godfather gave you the $23 million for nothing? Have you ever thought about what we do for a living? Wesley said, we do business. Godfather is not a philanthropist. Of course, there must be interest for this money too. Godfather will continue to let you use it. That's your honor. But this interest is too high, right? Cui Zhijing spoke without much confidence. I've already repaid hundreds of millions of USD because of this 23 million. Now, You want to give me so much money to settle it all at once. I really don't have that much money. Wesley laughed coldly. You can sell the company and all your fixed assets. It's impossible to not get enough money. Then I'll have nothing. Cui Zhijing exclaimed. Didn't you have nothing back then too? Wesley snorted. Why? You're used to the life of a rich person and don't want to be poor anymore? Then scram back to your motherland, North Korea. This is New York, the law of the jungle. It's not like your Jongnan district, where a random fatty can make millions just by doing a horse dance. Cui Zhijing was afraid. He was afraid that he would become someone who had nothing. Mr. Wesley, give me another chance. Leave me some money. Can I continue to borrow? Just think of it as me returning the money to my godfather and then lending it to me, okay? Wesley raised his head and laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha. Cui Zhijing, I just said that my godfather is not a philanthropist. You are not the same as you used to be. Cui Zhijing, you had the ability, the drive, and the determination to make a name for yourself on Wall Street. That's why Godfather appreciates you, thinks highly of you, and knows that lending you money won't go to waste. I can do it now too. I really can. I beg you, Mr. Wesley. Please tell Godfather that I still won't let him down. Cui Zhijing knelt on the ground and moved 2 steps forward, but he was immediately forced to stop by the guns raised by the people around him. Now, Wesley smiled disapprovingly. What do you think you have now? You are no longer the Cui Zhijing who was full of drive back then. Ever since you were swallowed by the huge pressure on Wall Street, you would do anything for money. The huge pressure made you unable to breathe. You could only use marijuana, crystal meth, and all kinds of heroin to relieve the huge pressure in your heart. Cui Zhijing was stunned. He had been addicted to drugs for more than a year. In this year, his drug addiction doubled every month. Wesley stopped smiling. Do you think we don't know what kind of state you are in now? Cui Zhijing, while you still have enough money to repay your debt and haven't been ruined by your drug addiction, it's better to return it to your godfather as soon as possible. Otherwise, this little life of yours might not be able to wait for your next drug addiction to act up. Cui Zhijing's entire body was almost paralyzed. Wesley was right. Randolph was definitely not a philanthropist. He knew that there was profit to be made, so he lent money to Cui Zhijing. If Cui Zhijing could always maintain himself as a money-making machine, he might have been recruited by Randolph to become a core member of the Gambino family. However, it was a pity that Cui Zhijing was suppressed by the huge pressure on Wall Street and could not adjust himself. He walked the path of drugs. Once he stepped on this path of no return, he was considered to be crippled. Randolph could not believe that the money in his hands could be invested in the hands of a drug addict and still be able to earn double. The Gambino family's biggest business was smuggling drugs in Latin America. Thus, he was very clear about what a drug addict would become in the end. Rather than letting Cui Zhijing lose his family assets, company, and all his money on drugs, it was better to hand it all over to him now. Let this person who was capable but could not withstand the temptation of the big world and the huge pressure from Wall Street become a pauper again. Perhaps this was his fate in this life. Wesley pushed a contract in front of Cui Zhijing. Sign this contract and everything you have will be transferred to us, including all your savings and fixed assets. Because you have to leave New York and go back to Korea. Do you understand what I mean? After pausing for a while, Wesley continued, If you don't sign it, then don't blame me for being rude to you now. After saying that, Wesley directly took a gun from his subordinate beside him and pointed it directly at Cui Zhijing's head. You know, I will really kill. Cui Zhijing's mind was blank. He did not think about anything at all and signed his name on the paper that Wesley pushed to him. He did not even look at what kind of contract it was. After Cui Zhijing finished writing, Wesley's face finally revealed a satisfied smile. Boss Cui, this is your will. Do you want to take a look at it again? Will? What did that mean? Cui Zhijing's mind was blank. He raised his head and looked at Wesley in a daze. On the other hand, Wesley stood up slowly and walked to Cui Zhijing. He took out a snow-white square handkerchief from his pocket and gently covered Cui Zhijing's face. Cui Zhijing knew that he could not avoid everything that was going to happen. Wesley pressed the handkerchief between Cui Zhijing's eyebrows with the handkerchief in between. He gently pulled the trigger. After the gunshot, the handkerchief covering Cui Zhijing's face was slowly soaked with blood. On the wall behind Cui Zhijing's head, there were traces of blood that spurted out. Wesley returned the handkerchief to his subordinate and said calmly, "Change the wallpaper on the wall immediately tonight. Drag the corpse back to his house and create the illusion of suicide. Be careful, don't leave any evidence. Understand?" "Understood." A few of his subordinates nodded. After saying that, Wesley picked up the will that Cui Zhijing signed and muttered to himself, "I really did not expect that this kid could still let Godfather earn such a large sum of money before he died. It would be better if there were more people like him in Wall Street in the future." Just when Wesley thought that everything was fine, the office door was pushed open. A man and a woman walked in one after another. The man had a strange smile on his face, while the woman's face was cold and heartless. However, one had to admit that this woman looked good. She could be called a perfect Oriental beauty. Chapter 1136. As expected of the capable subordinate of the Gambino family's godfather Randolph. You're very ruthless when doing things, not leaving any future troubles. There was still a smile on Su Yun's face. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye had heard and seen what had happened earlier. They had been in for over 10 minutes. Of course, there were still many bodyguards in the Gambino family's investment and wealth management company. All of them were personally trained by Wesley. They were very skilled and ruthless. However, they had met their match today. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye did not even show their faces. They settled all of them with just a few coins. It was so quiet that the people in the room did not hear any sounds from outside. Therefore, the moment Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye pushed open the door to Wesley's office, everyone in the room was stunned. "Friend, you are?" Wesley was a veteran who had been around for many years. He knew very well that the other party was not an ordinary person since they had the ability to appear in front of him. Therefore, he did not draw his sword immediately. Instead, he raised his hand and gestured for his men to put down their guns and not hurt their relationship. "I'm just a small character. Even if I tell you, Mr. Wesley will definitely not have heard of me." Su Yun still had a calm smile on his face. "Although the night is dark and the wind is strong, you dare to kill people in the office. Mr. Wesley, if you work overtime here, don't you feel afraid? When people die with grievances, there will be vengeful spirits. I've seen American dramas before. Isn't The Power of Evil a story about vengeful spirits? Have you seen it before? Oh right, is the 10th season going to be broadcast soon?" Cough cough. Bai Xiaoye heard that Su Yun had gone off topic and immediately coughed twice to remind him. Su Yun quickly stopped, scratched his head, and smiled embarrassedly. The corners of Wesley's lips twitched slightly. He had never encountered such a situation before and was completely confused by the two people in front of him. "I'm not afraid of vengeful spirits. I'm not even afraid of them when they're alive. Why would I be afraid when they're dead? Stop joking." Clap 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 clap. Su Yun applauded. "Mr. Wesley is so brave." Wesley frowned. He was obviously impatient. "I work overtime in this office at night. The only thing I have to do is to kill people. No wonder there are so many vengeful spirits in this house." Su Yun shook his head and murmured to himself, "I sense the strong resentment even from 100 miles away. Now that I've come here, as expected, there are so many people in this room. It's too crowded." Su Yun's crazy words not only made Wesley and his subordinates dumbfounded, but even Bai Xiaoye was at a loss. "The brother in the corner, if you really can't stand, go sit on the windowsill," Su Yun said to the heir in the corner of the room. After saying that, the window on the windowsill made a sound of collision. The faces of everyone in the room changed. Wesley's subordinates aimed their guns at the windowsill, but they did not see anything. Bai Xiaoye had goosebumps all over her body. She thought about how someone had just died in this room. Now that Su Yun said that, who would not be scared? Who exactly are you? Wesley said angrily. This person could make his subordinates uneasy with just a few words. He was really unpredictable. I'm a demon hunter, the kind that specializes in catching ghosts. Su Yun purposely lowered his voice and even pointed at Bai Xiaoye. This is my assistant, my partner. Although she's a girl, she's very good at hunting demons. There are too many evil spirits in your room. I can't handle them all by myself. Bai Xiaoye knew that Su Yun was spouting nonsense, but he still felt nervous in the middle of the night, not to mention the people in the room. Countless people like Cui Zhijing had died in this room. It was too many to count. If you want to keep your lives, it's best to cooperate with me. Su Yun's expression was on point. At this time, he pulled a close-up shot and gave a big close-up. He had to win the title of Best Actor. As the saying went, some things were better off believing them, not believing them. Although Wesley really did not want to listen to the words of this so-called demon hunter in front of him, when he said to the air for someone to sit on the window really did make a sound. If this did not happen, it would be fine. However, under such circumstances, Wesley could only believe it. Say it. Wesley was very careful as he faced the air around the room. After the other party said that the room was filled with evil spirits, he did not want to stay here for another minute. However, this was his office. He could not possibly tell his godfather that too many people had died in his office and that it was filled with evil spirits. He did not dare to work here anymore, right? After all, they were gangsters. Who did not have a murder case? For this matter, it would be best to borrow the help of this demon hunter today to get rid of all the evil spirits in the office. In the future, he would not kill people here. He would go to the seaside and directly throw them into the sea after getting rid of them. They would be lonely souls in the sea. Then, they would not be able to find trouble with him. Did you know that the evil spirit of the person you killed just now did not leave because he had something on his mind? He wanted to take his things away. Su Yun made up a story. The thing in your hands, that will, he did not want to sign. You forced him. Hence, if you don't return it to him, he will definitely not leave. He will always follow you. He will follow you home, go to the toilet with you. Even if you go to bed to sleep, he will also follow you to. Enough. Stop talking. As Randolph's right-hand man, Wesley was definitely not a cowardly person. However, these words sounded really scary. How should I deal with it? Very simple. Just burn the will in your hands. Su Yun said. His will went to another world. He left with it and will not bother you anymore. Wesley was furious. Impossible. If we burn this, he will have nothing to do with us. If there is someone to inherit his things, they will be inherited by the successor. If there is no one to inherit, they will become social welfare funds. Do you think that money or your life is more important? Su Yun said. As he spoke, he suddenly pointed at the air and said, Hey, where are you going? The windowsill can't fit two people. Just when everyone was looking at the air that Su Yun pointed at in a daze, there was the sound of someone bumping into the window again. If not for the fact that the members in this room were all evil mafias, ordinary people would have been scared stiff. Bai Xiaoye, who was an atheist, was shocked by Su Yun and broke out in a cold sweat. Not to mention these mafias who had ulterior motives. Hey, what are you two discussing? Su Yun looked at the empty windowsill and said helplessly, Don't think about those harmful things anymore. I will ask them to burn the will for you. Your things are still yours. Don't bother with them. Leave early. Wesley finally could not take it anymore. He turned around and aimed his gun at the windowsill and fired 2 shots. The glass of the window shattered and scattered all over the floor. The 2 gunshots seemed to have made his men sober up. They focused all their attention and aimed at these 2 uninvited guests. What evil spirits! They were not as scary as humans. In this world, Humans were the scariest creatures. This was what the mafias believed. Boss, the sound of the window just now was caused by these things. One of his subordinates suddenly pointed at two unknown objects that appeared out of nowhere on the ground. Clearly, these two objects were shot out by Su-yun's hand, which caused the sound of someone crashing into the window. Chapter 1137. When Su-yun saw that he was exposed, he could only smile awkwardly at Bai Xiaoye. He was trying to save trouble. It might be easier to solve the problem by fooling them first. The price of fooling them was that numerous pistols were pointed at Su-yun and Bai Xiaoye's heads. They pulled the trigger without hesitation. Luckily, Su-yun knew that the mafia was quick and clean. They would definitely not drag their feet. That was why he pushed Bai Xiaoye behind the safety bunker before the gunshots could be heard. His figure flashed, and he rushed directly into Wesley's office. Those who had experienced it all knew that when fighting with someone who was stabbing you with a knife, it was definitely not close combat. In close combat, the opponent would stab you one time. However, when fighting with someone who was using a gun, no matter how far you ran, you would not be able to outrun the opponent's pull of the trigger. Especially in this kind of room, the small space could limit the firing of guns. Moreover, when the side with the gun had the advantage in numbers, they would not have the advantage in a narrow space. Humans were dependent. When a person was used to being able to kill someone by simply pulling the trigger, they would become dependent on guns. In a country like the United States where citizens had the right to carry guns, most people had this kind of dependence. With a gun in their hands, they would not think of other ways to subdue the enemy. Su-yun made use of their mentality. Because all of them had pistols in their hands, the only way they could think of to subdue Su-yun was to use pistols. However, in such a small place like the office, there were many of them, and Su-yun's movements were agile. They could not shoot at all. Once they opened fire, the probability of hitting Su-yun was only 1%. However, the probability of hitting their own people was as high as 99%. Wesley was in this room, so his subordinates did not dare to shoot even if they were beaten to death. However, since they had pistols in their hands, they did not know how to use their brains. They gave up on the pistols and fought hand to hand. Therefore, they could only follow Su-yun's figure and aim here and there with their pistols. Throughout the entire process, only Wesley had fired 2 shots, but Su-yun had subdued him in the blink of an eye. Wesley did not even realize how the pistol in his hand disappeared. His own pistol was pressed against his own head. The feeling of having his own pistol pressed against his head was definitely a special feeling. As for what kind of feeling it was, perhaps only Wesley himself would know. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. The mafia was a hierarchical organization. When the superiors were controlled, the subordinates would have no opinions at all. This was the reason why Su-yun wanted to meet Randolph. Gu Guolong was such an important person. Without Randolph's approval, Su-yun wouldn't be able to meet him, let alone find him in such a big city like New York. You should give me the will now, right? Su-yun smiled slightly and said to Wesley calmly. Wesley had a gun pressed against his head. Although his body did not dare to move recklessly, as a small leader of the Gambino family, his aura and backbone were still there. Looks like you guys are Koreans who are related to Cui Zhijing. Hee friend, you dare to take the initiative to provoke the Gambino family. I believe you don't know much about New York, right? Indeed, I don't know much. I don't even know when the Statue of Liberty was built. After Su-yun finished speaking, he suddenly aimed at Wesley's left calf and shot. The bullet mercilessly shot into Wesley's calf. The FN 9mm high-powered pistol was really powerful. The bullet directly pierced through Wesley's calf. After all, the human body was made of flesh. The immense pain made Wesley's left leg go soft, and he directly knelt on the ground with one knee. Su-yun fired. Wesley's subordinates must have panicked. Their superior was shot in front of their eyes. This was definitely their negligence. However, they still only dared to aim their pistols at Su-yun. They did not dare to pull the trigger. Because the moment Wesley knelt on one knee, Soo-yoon once again aimed the pistol directly at his skull. If this shot was fired, the bullet would directly enter Wesley's head and come out from his chin. The head did not have muscles like the calf. With this shot, it would definitely be like a watermelon blooming. His outcome would definitely be worse than Cui Zhijing, who had his head shot just now. Naturally, no one dared to bet on speed with Soo-yoon. Speaking of which, this Wesley was really a tough guy. His calf was shot, but he gritted his teeth and did not make a sound. Just based on this strength alone, it was not something that an ordinary person could endure. If not for the fact that he was a ruthless mafia member, Soo-yoon would rather admire him. I know you guys don't dare to fire. If you don't dare to fire, then put down your guns so that your boss won't suffer. Soo-yoon did not have any expression on his face. He said to Wesley's underlings, I will count to 3. If you guys don't put down your guns, I will shoot his left shoulder. After pausing for a while, Soo-yoon said again, Look at my eyes. Do I look like I'm lying to you? Wesley's underlings' Adam's apple bobbed, and they swallowed their saliva madly. 1. After Soo-yoon finished speaking, he did not give them any time to think at all. 2. Whoosh. Wesley's underlings raised their hands almost at the same time. Then, they slowly squatted down and carefully placed their pistols on the ground. Soo-yoon did not ask them to kick their pistols away. If any of them had any strange movements, he had enough time to deal with them. It did not matter. Wesley did not say a word throughout the entire process. He was indeed a small leader of the American Mafia. He had seen a lot of swords and knives. He did not cower just because a gun was pointed at his head. You don't dare to kill me, Wesley suddenly said. Why? Soo-yoon provoked him. Which eye of yours can tell that I don't dare to kill you? Wesley was still very confident. Unless you want to get yourself into trouble and become the enemy of the entire New York Mafia, you won't kill me. What exactly do you want? Say it. You're quite confident. Soo-yoon laughed in disdain. Let me tell you. The place where your leg was penetrated is only a little away from the artery. I just need to kick you once and it will cause you to bleed profusely. Then you will die very quickly. No one was not afraid of death. There was no doubt about this. Even those who lived on the edge of a knife were the same. However, how one died was quite important. If Wesley died mysteriously because of the rupture of his artery, he would definitely not be able to accept it. Cui Zhijing is already a dead man. He signed the will. All of this belongs to the Gambino family. If you want to have a share of the profits, sure. Wesley said, I can give you 5% of the profits. This way, Godfather will not be alarmed, and no one will find trouble with you. You can take a considerable amount of money and leave America. I will treat today's matter as if nothing happened. Soo-yoon grinned. Big brother, your life is in my hands now. Even if there are conditions, I should be the one to raise them, right? It won't be your turn no matter what, right? Wesley also had a bottom line. Ever since the Gambino family regained its glory in their generation, not many people dared to speak to him like this and raise conditions with him. However, he was not prepared today. He had really lost. He admitted his loss. Okay. Raise your conditions. How much do you want? Wesley said, I have already warned you. If you are not afraid of losing your life to spend the money, then just say it. My conditions are very simple. I want Godfather to be alarmed. Soo-yoon's reply was straightforward. With a cold laugh, he tore the will into shreds. As pieces of shredded paper scattered all over the floor, it meant that everything about Cui Zhijing had nothing to do with the Gambino family. The Gambino family would not be able to get anything from this person. Are you crazy? Wesley was almost hysterical as he roared. How could he not alarm Godfather? Putting aside the fact that this young man who did not know his place would die a horrible death, even he would be punished for his incompetence. Chapter 1138. Do you know the consequences of alerting Godfather? Wesley lost his rationality temporarily. He hysterically questioned the man who was still pointing a gun at his head. He even completely forgot that he was still under the control of the other party. Su Yun frowned. It seemed that the consequences of alerting Randolph were very serious. Otherwise, Wesley would not be so angry. However, what was done could not be undone. Things had reached an irreversible stage. No matter how capable Wesley was, it was impossible for him to revive Cui Zhijing and draw up a new will for him to sign. There was only one copy of the will. There were no backups. Su Yun tore it up without any hesitation. This involves not only the problem of money. Godfather is a person who cares about his reputation. You dare to ruin his plans in his territory and tear up what he wants. Even if it is just a piece of white paper that is not worth a single cent, it is equivalent to tearing up his reputation. Wesley said, "You will definitely regret doing this. However, I will also be implicated by you. Godfather will blame me for not doing my job well." Su Yun frowned. Big brother. Why didn't you say it was so serious earlier? Is there any way to salvage the situation? There is no way to salvage the situation at all. Today, I, Wesley, have failed miserably. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. However, I can tell you clearly that even if you escape to the ends of the earth, Godfather will catch you and bring you back. He will kill you personally. Wesley said coldly. It seemed that Randolph cared a lot about his reputation. Since there was no way to salvage the situation, Su Yun was relieved. He nodded and said, "That's good, that's good. Since there is no way to salvage the situation, then this trip was not in vain." Wesley was completely shocked by Su Yun's crazy words. He felt that it was really unbelievable. How could there be such a person in the world? Was he not afraid of death at all? Could it be that in his eyes, Godfather did not have any deterrence? How many people on his path would tremble at the mention of his godfather's name? How many influential people did not even dare to raise their eyes in front of the godfather? How many people's faces would change when they heard the godfather's name because they could not bear it? But when this guy heard that his godfather would never let him go and would personally make him beg for death, there was no room for redemption. Instead, he was very excited. "Wesley, you're injured too. You should have treated your wounds first. But I think you'd better report to Godfather first. I'll wait for him here." Su Yun smiled. "I suggest you do as I say. Otherwise, if you take care of me on behalf of Godfather, he will suspect that you want to keep everything to yourself and find a scapegoat." These words were not false at all. Even if Wesley now had the ability to gather people to chop Su Yun into minced meat, he would definitely not do that. Once Su Yun died, there was no way to explain the will that Su Yun had torn to shreds. Only a lunatic would do such a crazy thing. He must keep this madman alive to see the Godfather. Only then would he be able to clear his name. "You." Wesley wanted to say something, but at that moment, he could not organize his words. He was stunned when he opened his mouth. Su Yun nodded. "I'll wait here. If I want to leave, I'm afraid the few of you can't stop me." After saying that, Su Yun waved his hand. 5 coins lined up in a straight line and shot deeply into the wall. They could not be dug out even if they wanted to. If these coins were shot on a person's body, the power would not be weaker than a bullet, right? Cold sweat finally appeared on Wesley's forehead. It seemed that this guy really had some skills. The ancient East was indeed full of talents. "You're from Huaxia?" Wesley suddenly realized that this guy definitely had nothing to do with Cui Zhijing. Back then, after Bruce Lee let the Americans know what Kung Fu was, the Americans would forever remember this word. Hence, once they saw someone with extraordinary strength, they would be very sure that the other party was from Huaxia. Su Yun clapped his hands. "Good eyesight. Good. I'm impressed." Wesley said, "Since I'm going to see Godfather, you should leave a name for me, right?" "Su Dada." Su Yun nodded and said, "Easy to remember." "Su Dada. Su Dada." Wesley repeated twice. This Huaxia's name was indeed easy to remember. It was much easier to remember than the name of the Hua Xia he met last time, Niqc. Wesley was ready to leave, but he was a little worried. He wanted to leave 2 of his subordinates behind to watch. However, he thought about it carefully. Even if he left everyone behind, they would not be a match for the other party. If the other party wanted to trick them into leaving and then escape, it would be better to just cripple all of them and then leave. Moreover, the other party's purpose this time was not for money. This made Wesley even more puzzled. No matter what, the most important thing now was to report the situation to Godfather. Everything would be up to him to decide. After Wesley appeared in a sorry state and brought such shocking news, Randolph was naturally quite shocked. He did not dare to believe that such an arrogant young man existed. However, looking at the gunshot wound on Wesley's leg that had not been treated in time and his fearful expression, he realized that Wesley would not lie to him. That young man and woman, are they still in your office now? Randolph was indeed a sly old fox. Wesley nodded. Yes, Godfather. That's good. There's nothing for you to do here. Go and treat your injured leg first. Randolph said calmly, Rest well these few days. Don't think too much. This matter is not your fault. You don't have to feel any psychological pressure or burden. Wesley did not dare to believe that Godfather would say this. This made him put down the huge rock in his heart. After Wesley left, the young white man who had been standing beside Randolph said, Godfather, I'll go and capture them for you. No. Randolph raised his hand and gestured for him not to do this. I want you to go and invite them back. Take note, really invite them back. Politely invite them back. Not capture them. I want to see what tricks these 2 young men and women can play in front of me. Ha ha ha. I'm afraid they have an expert behind them. They dare to challenge the Gambino family. Interesting. Yes. After the young white man received the order, he walked out of the villa. Su Yun and Bai Xiaoye sat in the Gambino family's loan shark company and waited in boredom. Brother, are you so confident that the mafia will come back and invite you back? Bai Xiaoye could not understand where Su Yun's confidence came from. Having a younger sister call him brother so easily made him feel very comfortable. Su Yun smiled smugly. That's because the godfather of the Gambino family isn't something that just anyone can become. To become the godfather of such a large family, one has to be rather shrewd. He'll definitely be an old fox. An old fox wouldn't be so stupid as to rashly fly into a rage without knowing anything about the situation. Just because of this? You dare to say that they will come and invite you back? Bai Xiaoye still could not understand. Forget it, forget it. I won't think about it anymore. I hope you're right. Don't send a helicopter here and level this place with a missile. This is Wall Street. Su Yun reached out and touched Bai Xiaoye's head. Are you having a fever? Have you watched too many American blockbusters? Do you think you're Mr. and Mrs. Smith? F***CKU. Bai Xiaoye glared at Su Yun. Chapter 1139. A young man with skin color that was considered extremely white among Caucasians had appeared in the Gambino family's loan shark company. His skin color made him appear extremely sickly, as if he was on the verge of death. Hello. The extremely white young man greeted Su Yun simply. This man and woman were indeed extraordinary. To think that they could still stay here and chat with each other after offending the Gambino family. Su Yun's reply was even simpler. All right. Godfather asked me to invite the 2 of you over, the extremely white young man said politely. The 20-odd members of the Gambino family's mafia behind him all took a step back, opening up a neat path for them. Su Yun looked at this scene and grinned. Brother, you're not joking, right? From the looks of it, it seems like you're going to bring me away to be shot and then find a place where there's no one around to bury me. Godfather will naturally treat you with great importance, the extremely white young man said nonchalantly. This is also Godfather's etiquette. Sir, please. All of you have pistols stuffed into your waists. Do you need them to invite people? Bai Xiaoye did not believe that the other party would really be so good-tempered. Just from how Wesley had killed without batting an eyelid, she could guess how vicious and merciless the Gambino family's mafia was. The extremely white young man threw a glance at Bai Xiaoye. This is America. Any American citizen has the right to carry a gun. As long as we haven't been sanctioned or restricted by the country's laws and the country doesn't forbid us from carrying guns, there's no problem for us to carry guns. Miss, you're thinking too much. If Godfather wanted to harm the two of you, he wouldn't have asked me to invite the two of you over. In that case, you're considered a top figure in New York's underworld. Su Yun clicked his tongue. You're young and capable. You're young and capable. May I know how I should address you? Eric, the extremely white young man said slowly. Oh my, what the heck? Su Yun was shocked. It turned out that the sickly-looking guy in front of him was actually a big shot in the United States. This guy's name was known all over the world. The huge white youth Eric was the famous Great White Shark of New York in the Western underground world. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was the Great White Shark of New York. It was rumored that there was no one in New York that he did not dare to bite. Those who were bitten by him would definitely not have any bones left. However, Su Yun had never heard of New York's Great White Shark Eric joining the Gambino family. Eric, I've heard a lot about you. Su Yun smiled. Logically speaking, I shouldn't refuse my godfather's invitation. But I think it's better for Godfather to personally ask me for help. Only then will I feel at ease. You don't really think that you're that important, do you? Eric laughed coldly. It must be Wesley who told you. Godfather will definitely investigate this matter personally. Su Yun nodded. That's right. What's your motive? Eric's gaze became colder and colder. Kill Godfather? Ha ha ha, you think too highly of me. Randolph is the most powerful of the 5 big families in the New York Mafia. If I came to New York to kill him, wouldn't I be looking for trouble? Su Yun smiled. Although I don't really care about my lowly life, I won't come here to seek death for no reason. Eric was a little confused. If you're not here to seek death, then why did you make us lose so much for no reason? If I didn't do this, would Godfather know that there's someone like me? Su Yun smiled slightly. If I only killed 1 or 2 small members of your family and casually raided a few of your shops, Godfather probably wouldn't have asked you, the Great White Shark, to come here personally, right? Eric was stunned for a moment. Obviously, he couldn't believe that this young man from the East knew his name. After a pause, Eric said, It seems that we're on the same side. If that's the case, if you don't give me face, we'll solve this problem according to our own rules. Su Yun didn't reply. This was a good opportunity. If he could kill the Great White Shark, Randolph would definitely sit down and have a good talk with him about Gu Gualong. You're not qualified to fight with my brother. Bai Xiaoye had already stood in front of Eric. The East was different from the West. The East was particular about Kung Fu. 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 The East focused on Kung Fu. A grandmaster once said, Kung Fu. Kung Fu was one word, horizontal and vertical. If you're right, you'll stand. If you're wrong, you'll fall. It might be difficult for foreigners to understand. If you're standing, it's vertical, and if you're lying, it's horizontal. Su Yun didn't stop Bai Xiaoye from volunteering. He believed in Bai Xiaoye's strength. After all, she was his stepmother. She was a super expert personally trained by Empress Zhuolang Yue, the #1 figure in the East's underground world. Even if she met a super expert of the same level, he believed that Bai Xiaoye would be more experienced. The East and the West had different standards for experts. The West didn't care about super experts, grandmasters, or Sky Xian or Earth Xian experts. They only cared about the simple ranks of fighters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Those who could enter the professional boxing world were level 1 boxers. Those who dared to gamble their lives in the underground boxing world were generally level 2 boxers. Boxers who could win professional boxing titles were considered level 3 boxers. Only those who could sit firmly in the underground boxing world for a year and not be beaten to death by challengers in 12 challenges over 12 months could be considered a level 4 fighter. If one had to draw an equal sign between the East and the West, a level 5 fighter should be on par with a super expert. The strength of New York's Great White Shark had long been fixed at the position of a 6th-grade boxer. Bai Xiaoye was facing a seemingly sick white man. He was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Bai Xiaoye made the first move. She was used to striking first since she was young. She was completely influenced by Zhua Langyue. Those who knew martial arts knew that martial arts combined Sanzhou to form routines. However, most of the moves in martial arts had to wait for the opponent to make the first move before you had the chance to show off your Sanzhou. What if your opponent was also waiting for you to make the first move? What should you do? Don't you need to fight? Therefore, Zhua Langyue taught her to strike first. She didn't want Bai Xiaoye to learn simple but effective straight kicks and uppercuts. That was too unladylike. Martial arts routines were originally used by sects to teach their disciples the basic moves. Simply put, it was to let people remember them and then apply them flexibly in a fight. What did it mean to apply them flexibly? Step on the feet when you should step on the feet and hit the crotch when you should hit the crotch. You could only use it when your opponent made a move and you happened to have a solution in your routine. For example, if the opponent made a low leg, you could use the Tai Chi Tangjing. Zhua Langyue's words were very reasonable. Actual combat was actual combat, and boxing was boxing. If both sides wanted to strike first, they would find that one side couldn't help but strike first. Moreover, striking first didn't mean that she was at a disadvantage. So why didn't she just be the one who always struck first? You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.